They got very emotional during the movie.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the
up, fellers?
The back of the back, kill it anyway. To play, haters face the world's mistakes. Wait, the back of the back, kill it anyway.
Start Facebook. Try to get ahead of it a little bit here. That's working. Pause the music. Done. Back over to Facebook. What's up, guys? How's she hanging? Clam jammers. Yeah, I made a video of Mariah and Oliver and Liam and me. We're all watching the movie Project Hail Mary, which is a good movie. But man, did Mariah was very emotional during the movie. Very emotional. She even got Ollie crying. She was so upset. It was crazy. But whatever. It's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, it's on Prime Video, maybe. I think that's where they watched it. I saw it a few months back. I bootlegged it or whatever, but it's a good movie. All right, let's go. I think we got that. Let me make sure this is working. Love that movie. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Hey daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of
Hey, daddies.
Linda Land. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Oh, welcome everybody. I am Will Bird, and this is the Cold Beer Confessional. Trump's been having a little bit of a meltdown today over on his True Social. Posting the same shit over and over. Weird shit, AI shit. I'm going to go bald, so prepare to die hair. Uh-oh. Don't feel bad. I had a head full of hair. And then I started, when I got in the military, I got tired of getting it cut all the time. And I take a shower every morning. It like loosens up my contacts and shit. I can't stand taking a shower at night. Well, I mean, if I'm dirty, I will before the bed, but I don't like taking a shower at night and then waking up in the morning and going. Like, I need a shower to get woke up. Loosen up my contacts, feel good about the day. Even if I have to get up super early, I like a morning shower. So I take a shower every morning. And I thought, well, fuck it. I'm just going to start shaving my head. And I did. I shaved it for probably, I don't know, a year or something while I was in the military, 18 months. I don't know. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm not going to shave it. I went to grow it back out. It does not all grow back. So either I went bald during that period or I damaged it somehow by shaving it, which when I first started shaving, it was pretty bad. When you first start shaving your head, dude, it fucking rips skin and leaves razor burn everywhere and shit. But now it's like a piece of leather. It doesn't, it's not nearly as sensitive, but it was when I first started shaving. So I don't know if I damaged it or if I just went bald during that time. My dad was never like fully bald. Like he did have like a comb over like thing going on for a while until he just started getting a buzz cut, but he still had most of his hair. It was just like thin up at the front. So I don't know. They say you get it from your mom's dad or some shit, but my mom's dad, who I'm named after, always had hair. And he had red hair too. So I guess I didn't get it from him. Anyways, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm Will Bird. This is the Cold Beer Confessional. I had a video that I wanted to show you guys, and I literally forgot what the fuck it was. Like, I was sitting here thinking about it during the intro, and I was like, I want to show that video to them about, and I forgot. But it doesn't matter. We're going to check out Truth Social. Trump's been having a little meltdown, doing some AI posting. And just wild shit, dude. Like this. This is a movie poster that says Trump X Washington, a time travel epic. And it says Patriot Pictures presents a film by America. And it says the past was about to change. History was about to be saved. And it shows him saving George Washington from the... I don't get it. Like, Mount Rushmore wasn't there when Washington was alive. Like, what time period are we in? There's a helicopter in the background also. What time period is this? Trump has a tie and a cape. That's not the worst part of the AI posting. He says, this is the spine. This is what I want to put back in Republicans. Where is John Thune? And it says recess appointments. President Reagan had 240. President Bush 1 had 77. President Bush 2 had 171. President Trump had 0. He keeps posting. He's posted this multiple times. It's a MERV 15 air filter between the U.S. and Canada because Canada's had wildfires going on, and I guess some of the smoke is coming onto the border areas. Uh-oh, Josh. Yeah, kind of up for grabs. But it's a MERV 15 filter, like at the border. It says United States, Canada. And honestly, Canada looks a lot nicer than the United States in this picture. And the filter's on their side of the border, it would appear. They probably do have cleaner air. But it's just weird, right? And it says other presidents. The Vietnam War was 19 years with 58,220 dead. The Korean War was 3 years with 36,574 dead. The Iraq War was 9 years with 4,600 dead. The Afghanistan War was 20 years with 2,000 dead. Now, just judging by this, minus the Korean War, 19 years, 9 years, 20 years. Does that sound like a war that you can attribute to one president? Because he tries to show the Iran military conflicts has been 4 months with 18 dead, and the Venezuelan war was 1 day with 0 dead. But does he forget that Iraq and Afghanistan were going on while he was president? Like, he's got to put these numbers, if he's going to attribute these numbers, then he's got to fucking put those numbers over here. Because when he was in office, these two wars were going on. He can't just be like, oh, Trump only got Iran and Venezuela. No, these are part of your legacy as well, dude. I don't think he makes any of these memes. I think he just grabs them from his support. Like, he scrolls through his comments and finds memes, basically. He shares a White House Correspondents' Dinner photo with him putting on the Trump 2028 hat. We watched that last night. It was not very good. He shares a Trump 2028 mug with a bunch of people around it crying. He shares this photo, which is, I guess, him back in the day, but he's wearing a pink Trump 2028 Save America hat. An AI photo of him and JFK for some reason. Someone in the comments, he'll be sharing this one next, says Deep State. But it looks like he set the White House on fire. I don't know if you say so. This one, I don't even know what the fuck this is. It just says Trump's cabinets. And everybody's standing in front of him. He's just pointing at them. Like, what is this supposed to make me feel? The Korean War is like it's often called the Forgotten War. When I was in middle school, I don't know if this is like a national push or like one of our teachers felt weird about it, or maybe it's some type of weird anniversary. But they taught us for like 3 weeks. We did a thing on the Korean War, and they told us it was the Forgotten War, and we went really in depth. And this was 6th, 7th, and 8th grade all together. We're all studying about the Korean War for like 3 weeks. And then we built this monument outside where each kid got to put a brick on it. Well, like they mudded your brick for you and you held it. And then you went over there and kind of set it, and the guy grabbed it and actually fixed it. We weren't stacking bricks, right? We were 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. But I think I was in 7th grade when it happened. And they built this obelisk thing that was a Korean War monument. It's still there. I showed my kids the other day when we were at the old middle school. It's an elementary school now, but it was like a brick obelisk with a like the point on it's all brick up the sides, and the point on it is just concrete, like the very top. And then it's got a plaque about the day it was, and it says the Forgotten War, the Korean War, blah, 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 something like that. I don't know if it was like an anniversary thing or a push, like a weird push to teach about the Korean War. Maybe one of the teachers just had a hard on for the Korean War, or maybe they knew that monument was coming and they're like, well, we need to teach the kids about it if we're making a, if we're making a monument, we need to go over it. But I remember distinctly, like all history classes for all grades suddenly became about the Korean War for like weeks, and that culminated into building that little monument, which was cool. He shares this image of someone holding up an American flag while he's speaking. Okay. Trump's America. This 100%. That flag does not look real. What is that fucking flag? I don't know. That's Trump's America. It's people on the beach while I guess planes can only fly over the beach when Trump's in charge. Makes perfect sense.
Flag still.
America is back. We've got is that a plane too? Is that a bug or something? This is an AI photo, obviously. I don't know what the fuck this is. And a fucking X-Wing. We got an X-Wing from Star Wars. We've got aircraft and an eagle perched on the edge of a mountain, and it says America is back. I don't know what the X-Wing's doing. That's weird. This is all today. All of this is today. Plan trusted. And he's making duck lips for some reason. Okay. He shares this one, which means absolutely nothing. It shows the Capitol building with a thunderstorm behind it and lightning striking. And it says, panic in D.C. And then someone took that and ran with it and says, it says panic in D.C. I'm just getting started. I'm going to pull the whole thing down. I'm going to bring the whole fucking disease, corrupt temple down on your heads. It's going to be biblical. He'll probably be sharing that one next. Like a lot of these don't even make sense other than they're just AI memes that he just shared. Again, all today. A lot of them within the same hour. Then it says, Guardian of the World. And it has a bomber, USA, Trump on his knuckles leaning on a desk. And this says Iran over here with a bunch of like mud huts exploding. And this says Iran over here with like a shipyard and a military base and 3 flags everywhere. I'm sorry, 4 flags. There's one way in the background. I don't get this one either. I don't think anybody gets this one. For some reason, this one building here is larger than a fucking naval destroyer over here. There's no scale to the thing. The flags are gigantic. This flag right here is the same size as the ship. Like, how big is that fucking flag? Then he shares a bunch of these boat ones, okay? So this, by the way, you're not the guardian of the world if you're just randomly starting wars. You know what I mean? Like, are you the guardian or are you the bully? Then we have this. It says, goodbye engine room. It's an AI photo of a tanker with a gigantic fucking flag, dude. Like, look at the window on the bridge. Like, one of these windows, somebody could be standing behind. So how big is this fucking flag, bro? Like, if that's the size, let's say this window is the size of a human height-wise. So that's 6 foot. This flag is fucking... This flag's like fucking 400 foot wide. I don't know. He shares that. Goodbye, engine room. I don't know. It shows an explosion right in the middle of the ship. The engine would be back here, I'm assuming. I don't know. There you go. And then he shares another one. Guardian angels of the world. USA, Iran. The flags are back. The explosions are back. There's more airplanes this time. And there's also some U.S. Navy vessels with gigantic flags. There's like a parking garage or a hospital over here he's blowing up. And then again, this is like a military base, naval yard. And it looks like just flags stuck in random places. Here we go again. Guardians of the World. USA, Iran. Ships, explosions, planes, knuckle dragger. There we go. Just the same memes over and over and over and over again with a slightly different prompt, like make it more American, give me more planes, bigger explosion, more giant flags. I don't know. Then he shares this fucking creeper photo. What the fuck is this? This is all within the same hour. Okay, hold on. Give me just a second. Everything that was 6 hours ago. So these are all the posts that are listed as 6 hours ago. So they were all within the same hour posted. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 photos in an hour. And the first one that kicked off that hour was this weird creeper photo. No comments, no captions, no nothing. You're just over here peeking. I don't know. So fucking creepy. The man who saved America. These are all still from the same day. This is hour 2. It just shows Trump at a bunch of different ages. So this is when he was in that military boarding school thing, in front of an escalator, walking outside, and then pretty recent. The man who saved America. America first. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Him and the founding fathers, I guess. For some reason. Like, I swear, Trump, a lot of people say, like, he's the best president ever, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot to compete with. Like, a lot of presidents have done a lot of great things. And I know in more recent years, people have made, like, politics their whole identity. But that was true somewhat back in the early days. Then people kind of checked out for a while. But, like, to the point where people wouldn't let you, like, sully the name of their president. They'd get in, like, duels and shit. But Trump legitimately thinks that when history books are written, it'll all be about the greatest president that ever lived, that was 45 and 47, Donald J. Trump. I'm sure only the textbooks in Oklahoma will say that, but still, it's weird, right? It's weird how much faith he puts kind of in himself. He shares this AI photo of him looking weird as fuck. Somebody in the comments shares this one. But it's him smoking a cigar with a Trump 2028 hat on, still the same day. All right, back to the boat photo. So this is him driving a boat, but it's kind of like what a child thinks driving a destroyer is like. Like there's just like a cab on top. It kind of looks like a tank, and it's got a big steering wheel. Like it's like what a child would draw if you're like, hey, draw somebody driving a military boat. Then a bunch of these oil tanker takeovers. So we got this one, which has a big Iran flag on it. The anchor's weird and like melted to the boat. A fist in the air. He's got one soldier behind him. He's also having to lean on some pole because he's unsteady. His tie's way too long. He's got one soldier with knee pads on behind him. Knee pads are interesting. There you go. This is our oil tanker now. Next, same thing. On the deck of a tanker, he throws the Iran flag on the ground, and he's got the U.S. flag, and he's standing there by himself. It's our oil tanker now. Next, same thing, but the boat's not as dirty, and he's not in as athletic a pose. Flag on the ground, flag up, Trump holding it with both hands. Pretty decent hand job, to be honest with you. Good form. No more engines. An Iran boat, really rusty, really fucked up. A bunch of pops for some reason all over it, and an explosion. No more engine. So another boat photo. Another boat photo, but this time he's got some army guys near him. There's a destroyer in the background with people just standing on the deck for some reason. The boat says Irania. The flag's on the ground with bullet holes in it, and he's got two people in Muslim garb that are jumping off the boat, or he threw them off the boat, but also these guys don't seem to be paying attention to him. I don't know if they snuck off the boat. And this guy kind of looks like, hold on. This guy kind of looks like the guy from Basement Yard podcast. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. The Muslim-looking guy that is nearest Trump. Let me see if I can find the photo of him. All right, this guy on the left is 100% this guy. Like, I think AI just took his picture. I know this guy's name's Joe Santiago or whatever, but I don't know what this guy's name is, to be honest with you. So there you go. That's him. I don't know how they pulled that photo, but they got him jumping off a boat. Again, this is the fourth, like, same boat one. Yeah, they got MC Hammer pants on. I guess he didn't want their skirts to come up. Then he's got this one. This is the same exact one with the aircraft carrier. It's our oil tanker now, the flag, the double fisting, the soldiers, the flag on the ground. But this time they're not jumping off the boat. I guess they already jumped, maybe. He's still posing. Then he's got this one. It's our oil tanker now, but in this one, instead of holding the flagpole, he's holding a piece of rope. No boat in the background. Flag on the ground, flag up, just Trump, very athletic pose, sleek, flexing on these hoes. No soldiers, no people jumping overboard. How many, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess we can't really count that one. He's on the destroyer. At least 7 of the. Oh, 8. Goodbye engine room. Maybe 10 total. Because there's other ones where he showed the blown up. It's so weird. That's the same one. He's holding the rope. That's one I just showed you. Same thing again, but this time the boat's cleaner for some reason. Nobody jumping overboard. No soldiers. No boat in the background. No airplanes. Just the flag thing. And we get another no more engines. We got jumping people. I think this is like the same picture again. He just keeps posting the same meme over and over again. And then this AI photo, strike on Karg. It's supposed to be like a movie poster, I guess. But if you look closely, it's not even good. Like, what the fuck is this? This jet has 2 cockpits. It's like a double-decker bus, but a jet. I think the wings are on backwards. What the fuck is going on there? What even is this thing? Something from Starship Troopers. It's like one of the planet landing crafts. Another X-Wing out there. Strike on Karg. This is supposed to be a tanker, but this is a ship that turns into a boardwalk over here. You guys can't see that because it's behind the chat. There's a ship over here. It turns into a boardwalk. I don't know. AI is not very good. He's using a very bad AI model. Don't forget about the double-decker airplane. Attack on Karg. All on the same day. Trump 2028 from 8 hours ago, Make America Great Again. He shares this weird Cosmic Commander. It's him, I guess, in like a Star Trek thing. A new era begins among the stars. It's him not looking like him. This very fucking vibrator-shaped ship. Some type of weird badge thing. Cosmic Commander, Leadership, Destiny, and Beyond. Stellar Pictures presents a Future Frontier production in association with Galactic Visions. Cosmic Commander starring Donald J. Trump, Madison Starr, Xander Vale, Lyra Nova, Orion Prime, and the United Front. Music by Eclipse. Cinematography by Lensworth. Produced by Victor Hall. Written by James Astor. Directed by Michael Stone. In IMAX, 8K Ultra HD, coming soon. Dolby Atmos, Stellar Pictures. And I guess it's him and Space Force or something. I guess, what is the point of even... Somebody explain to me what's the point of sharing this. Like, it doesn't mention Space Force. It doesn't mention it. It doesn't mention anything. It's like a weird fucking fake movie poster. I don't even understand why you would post this. Same time, my dearest friends, TDS forever. She's writing upside down. Dear President Trump, you're truly one of a kind. XOXO Rosie. Ireland is my happy place. In Ireland, we don't keep calm. We just get lucky. There's Guinness on the hearth. She has a fireplace inside a fireplace inside a fireplace. Leprechaun. Slante. Galway this way. It's not a sip, it's a lifestyle. Little leprechaun hat, little Irish flag. Hell yeah. Some cookies with hearts in it, and somehow she's writing upside down. My dearest Donald. It says my dearest Donald here, but then it says Dear President Trump. Amazing. He has TDS, yes. Give the enemy nightmares. We have here. It says, give the enemy nightmares. They're in some type of wooded area, walking down through the bush, I guess. And he has a bunch of Antichrist soldiers with red eyes, and he's marching with them. They're in the fog. And it says, Trump 2028. Give the enemy nightmares. So there you go. Dude, if I was a Christian, I would be freaking out about the shit Trump posts. Like when he was Jesus or when he's like doing this shit and it looks like he's commanding an army of demons and shit. Like if I truly believed all that, like I'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Like clearly he wants people to worship him and he's like a false idol. He thinks he's some type of God. Like it's fucking weird if you believe in religion. If you don't believe in religion, it's still fucking weird, but you're not like, oh, he might be damning me to hell. Then he shares this one. Kimmel, Fallon, and Colbert. It says that the street has two names. It's West 50th Street and 7th Avenue. Do not walk. Do not cross. It says late night is over. And every one of them has a sign that says talentless, not funny, ex-comedians, need money. 3 signs. They're all sitting there. All the shit's beat up. They look like fucking Garbage Pail Kids. The world's skinniest trash can over here. And it says anything helps, smiley face. And it looks like they got some money down there. How much they got? They've got an amount that can't be deciphered. So there you go. They have more socks than Bort, that's for sure. They're all wearing 2 socks. They're not down to 1 sock yet, so must be doing all right. He shares this as well. Chris Christie, Jerry Nadler, the Cheesecake Championship. This is from his joke where he said they'd be fighting over a piece of cheesecake. And it says the cheesecake is the prize. Big Chris, Little Jerry, big fights. Strawberry cheesecake, the Cheesecake Championship. There you go. They're fixing a box, I guess. Very cartoonish, very AI implemented. This is him, I guess, in front of maybe the Constitution or something. It just says TION, GOS, or maybe an R. And Trump 2028. So there you go. All from the same day. He shares this post of him on what appears to be Air Force One, maybe. And Joe Biden's on the TV as president. So that's kind of amazing. Shares this. It's a fake art, I guess, from the Correspondents' Dinner. I guess he tossed his hat out at some point. There's the picture, and he acts as if someone made it into an art piece. There's a flag, and then a weird flagpole that's just kind of sticking out of the flag. And then he throws the hat. There's also a bunch of pieces of it breaking off for some reason, and all the pieces say Trump. It's like confetti, I guess, but also a hat. And him looking sleek and stylish, kind of like a fat James Bond. This post... Bored in the USA, born to pander, forced to eat. Hey, Bruce, great show. High five, buddy. Chris Christie, 2016, Supersize Me. I love Bruce. He's got a bunch of food there. He's a big fat slob. Bruce's guitar only has one side of his strap on. It's hanging down at his fucking knees. His shirt says, I'm with stupid. Someone says, there's a sign that says, Bruce still rocks. Then it has an asterisk, and the asterisk says, us to sleep. There's people coming through Bruce's knee. Of course, it says the E Street Band. There are literally people popping up through his knee. Yeah, a lot going on there. These aren't even people. I don't know what the fuck this is. I don't know what the fuck. Some of them have faces. Some of them are just like smeared. They look like fucking Trainwreck Travis. Just a testicle smear for a face. But whatever. There you go. The Bud Light campaign, Dylan Mulvaney or whatever, shares that. Got to put that in there. Thank you to the highly respected Mohammed VI, the King of Morocco. Such a great honor. I look forward to traveling the entire length of this great highway someday, hopefully soon. President Donald J. Trump, he shares a video. With an incredible horn solo, I guess.
What does a road really connect? Two places? Perhaps. But the roads that shape history connect something far greater. Under the visionary leadership of His Majesty King Mohammed VI, and thanks to the historic courage of President Donald J. Trump, the Moroccan Sahara has entered a new era in the pursuit of peace, dialogue, and prosperity. In 1777, Morocco became the first nation to recognize the United States of America. 9 years later, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship laid the foundation for what remains the longest unbroken diplomatic relationship in U.S. history.
Treaty of Peace and Friendship.
Friendship, trust, and dialogue have bound Morocco and the United States. And today, the President Donald J. Trump Highway is its most concrete and lasting expression. Some roads shorten.
They named the highway after him.
Shape the future.
So he'd pay for it.
$1 billion. This road connecting Tiznit to Dakhla stretches over 1,055 kilometers, making it one of the longest in Africa. The President Donald J. Trump Highway forges a new continuity across Morocco's southern provinces, connecting Atlantic Morocco with its natural African extension. From Tiznit to Laayoune, the highway runs for 555 kilometers through some of the continent's most spectacular landscapes. A dual carriageway, 16 engineering structures, and Morocco's longest viaduct, turning a natural obstacle into a seamless link. This section connects northern Morocco to Laayoune, one of Africa's emerging Atlantic metropolises. Further south, the President Donald J. Trump Highway pushes the horizon toward Dakhla, one of Africa's most captivating destinations, and home to the future Atlantic port. Positioned only days by sea from the major maritime gateways of Europe, the Americas, and sub-Saharan Africa, the port places the region as a hub within reach of the world. The highway carries that connection inland, forming a continuous corridor further into the African continent. It opens territory.
Sometimes it shows it as only a one lane. Sometimes it shows it as like a fucking 2-lane highway running opposite directions. I don't know.
Distance, unlocking the region's rich potential.
It's like they used AI too.
Era of development. Across its 1,055 kilometers, the President Donald J. Trump Highway is more than a road. It connects cities, ports, markets, and people.
Looks like they use stock footage for some of it.
When two nations united by friendship and a shared vision choose to act for peace, nothing can stand in the way of prosperity. Under the royal initiative to provide the Sahel states with access to the Atlantic Ocean, the President Donald J. Trump Highway strengthens the link between the Atlantic and the Sahel states. and reinforces Morocco's southern provinces as a strategic gateway between Africa and the world. What does a road connect? A shared past and a future shaped by a mutual vision forward. The President Donald J. Trump Highway, the Peace Road for Prosperity.
There you go. He shares that. That was all shared in the same day. European Union's 890 million euro fine on Google today is the latest example of Brussels using regulation as a blunt instrument against American innovation. According to Politico, a recent EU fine on Google for 4.1 billion euros, $5 billion, alone represented 2% of the EU's annual budget, higher than the contribution of 2/3 of the EU member states. The current fine is in addition. Enough is enough. While we support fair market competition, this current penalty under the Digital Markets Act risks chilling the very dynamism that drives technological progress and benefits users everywhere. The United States remains committed to open markets, rule of law, genuine competition. We urge European partners to work collaboratively with us on standards that foster innovation rather than protect legacy players or punish market leaders simply for being effective. American tech leadership strengthens the transatlantic alliance. Let's keep it that way. That's from Ambassador Andrew Puzder. I don't even know what the fuck this is. Weekly policy achievements. Okay. A bunch of posts about let's just count how many he did today. A bunch of posts about Elizabeth Warren.
Hi, just a quick question for you. I know you're vehemently opposed to the Save America Act. Does the recent revelation in New Jersey with the aliens who are actually registered to vote change your opinion on getting that legislation passed?
Look, it is already illegal for someone who's not an American citizen to vote, period.
But there's at least 400 aliens that did
There
that.
are already laws to prevent that.
And most of them are prosecuted and their votes were caught and not counted. What's the problem? 400 across the entire United States?
People have violated the law and they should be prosecuted. Easy.
Anything's actually going to happen. I thought Democrats always said that there's no evidence.
I don't understand why you want laws that are already there. That makes no sense.
But I thought Democrats said illegals never vote, but obviously they do, right? Thank you, Senator.
Anyways, he double posts a bunch of times. Campaign finance. This Mike Lee. He double posts a bunch of fucking times. I want to count how many posts he put out in 24 hours. Give me a second. All right, 2 days ago. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70. 70 posts. That's like 3 posts an hour on average over a 24-hour. Holy shit. 70 posts in 24 hours. What the fuck is he doing, dude? They give him extra Adderall on Sundays or some shit? 70 fucking posts, dude. Anyways, watch this video.
This evening, security cameras. Oh, we're at a protest.
Not this one. My whole family cried watching Project Hail Mary. You had to watch him sleep. Look at her. She's like literally bawling. She's got Ollie crying. Why is everybody so upset? The circle means family. him sleep. They were so upset, dude. The cat's just fucking lazy. The cat is lazy as fuck. But yeah, it did kind of look sad there. Anyways, the interview. Let's do this. I've been wanting to watch this. I don't know we'll watch it all. It's an hour and 46 minutes. I will speed it up some, but I am interested in it. This is Nick Fuentes with Hunter Biden and Andrew Callahan.
Our greatest strength. Diversity has been our greatest strength.
White people do feel like we are being boxed out.
A 26-year-old white kid doesn't feel like he has access because he's been canceled, and the problem is black
You
people.
didn't say the problem is black people.
Well, you just did, Nick. You just
The
said.
problem is crime, and we know who's doing the crime in Chicago.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
About the Holocaust things?
About that. We get to say whatever we want on the internet. We get to deny the Holocaust. As far as Jews are concerned in general, I think that everybody in the country should be treated with dignity and respect and have their civil rights.
Wait, what do you think about somebody like Mamdani?
Personally, I don't like him. Like, for example, on 4th of July, when he takes the opportunity to sit there with, let's be honest, not a single white person.
What about fucking Donald Trump? There's no ideological core in Donald Trump.
No, I agree with you.
Don Jr. got the largest loan ever given by the Department of Defense.
Who would even notice? Like, I saw Mondami's speech that he did on the 4th of July, and I didn't even notice that there was no white people in the background. Did you guys? Is someone counting white people every time something pops up?
Vance owes his entire political career to Peter Thiel, whichever firm is the one to develop ASI that could confer dictatorial-like powers upon the CEO of that company.
Everything that we think about the way in which we exist in the world completely changes.
Increasingly with Uber, Airbnb, banking apps, you can't live your life without the tech platform.
Everything that AI is built on is ours. That's what they're stealing from us. I want to find common ground of how much of a shithead Donald Trump is. We can get there. Okay.
The kind of first question that I had whenever I caught wind that you wanted to do an interview like this is, why now? What made you want to sit down for this kind of interview?
Well, I think it's an interesting conversation to have all of us here. And, I think it's a moment in our country when there's a lot of realignment. I think that people recognize, especially in the past couple of years, I'm like a non-conventional critic, maybe, of what's happening. And so I think it'll be an interesting, productive conversation. I think it'll be different.
But I mean, specifically, because we kind of share a publicist, I heard that you wanted to kind of... Okay. we have a publicist that you hit up, and you said that you wanted to talk to someone who would give you kind of a fair shot to clear up some things and maybe some misconceptions about you and the things you believe.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think that, I'm somebody who, I think like you, actually, maybe we have this in common, is kind of pigeonholed in a certain way for things we've done in the past or things that we've said.
I'm a crackhead.
But I'm racist, right?
I got pigeonholed there. Mine is true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, mine's a little true. Maybe a little no. But yeah, so I think it'd be good to clear up some of the misrepresentations and put out something accurate.
So what do you think is the most misrepresented thing about you?
Well, I think really the whole image everybody has about me. When you mentioned me, I think on a recent show, you said you want to ask me, why are you a Nazi?
Yeah.
And that's how everybody knows me. Everybody thinks of me as a white supremacist Nazi, and I don't think that's really true at all. I think that we definitely have different values. I mean, you're more from the left, I'm more from the right, but I don't think I'm a hater. I'm not a hateful person.
It is Heil Hitler Friday. Heil Hitler. All my niggas Nazis.
Hitler was very fucking cool.
Yes, I do. And I'm tired of pretending he's not.
So what's the thing about, I guess, traditional Nazism that you think you disagree with the most?
Well, it's a non-Christian ideology. So, I mean, look, I believe that race is real, as the Nazis did, but I don't think it utterly defines a person. As a Christian, I think we're all created beings. I do believe there's such a thing as a universal human community, and so I think it's a cruel ideology. I said this on my show, by the way, but I mean, that would maybe be the fundamental.
Did you always feel that way?
Always, yeah, absolutely.
So even whenever you were younger and stuff?
I did, but, you got to recognize times have changed. 10 years ago, we had a totally different political world. The regulation and policing of speech, what you would call wokeness, I think was at an all-time high when I got started as a very young man.
What would you call wokeness?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think, would you not say there were some excesses maybe in those days?
Yeah, in those days, I wasn't doing too well, so I wasn't paying much attention. Anyway, I would love to hear, and I'm not asking you to retract everything that you've ever said and all, or anything, but I said that I would love to talk to you because number one, I told you this, is that I think you're really smart, and I think that with that comes a real responsibility, and you have an audience. And I have a friend whose son is my daughter's age, maybe 28, your age, and he's really smart, and he is a big fan of yours. And so by virtue of the relationship, I got to learn what it is why he is a fan of yours, and none of it has to do with, I hope you agree, like really egregious things that you've said in the past about the Holocaust or about,
Did the Jews ever talk about the 100 million whites that died in World War II? Or do they just bitch and moan about the so-called 6 million Jews that died? And so it's just nice to poke holes in it and say, it's not 6 million. 6 million? I don't think so.
And I don't even know, I think I've heard you since kind of rescind a lot of that.
You can see the 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust.
Possibly more. Possibly, we're discovering all the time. So it could maybe even be more than that.
But what he agrees with is kind of the anger about the situation that particularly your generation finds yourself in. I know that to be real. And I think that there, maybe my reasons for recognizing that anger as being legitimate and my targets are different than yours. I just want to hear from you. When you say you're canceled by the right in 2016.
Yes.
I almost felt like in preparing to meet you now is that your reaction to that was to just dig deeper and deeper into kind of the outsider kind of radical say anything for the purpose of generating the attention to build an audience. Is that true? And it's not an accusation. I really mean it. I want this to be a conversation as much as possible.
I mean, there's certainly some truth to that, but I think that might be overstating it a little bit because I really got canceled by the right and the left.
Yeah.
And back in those days in 2017, you had these far left journalists at Huffington Post, Right Wing Watch, ADL, SPLC, and I really believe they were on a mission to find extremist rhetoric, the white nationalist, neo-Nazi boogeyman, all that kind of stuff. And they would look at someone like myself, 18, and if I was being serious or joking, things taken out of context, they would clip it, post it, and they wanted me to be the villain. And I think they wanted a lot of people to be the villain. I think the left, in a way, kind of created this climate where I think they pushed a lot of people farther to the right.
No, by the way, that very well may be true, but you gave them a lot of ammunition.
That's true.
I mean, I hope that some of those things that you said in the past are not things that you believed in and that are you meant just to engender like a really radical kind of response. I mean, is that true or no?
Well, again, I think that back in those days, you could not say anything. In 2017, 2018, cancel culture was so in overdrive. Any joke, any edgelording, anything like that, they would, first of all, there's no sense of
I don't think so. There's a lot of edgy jokes you can basically get away away with. And some people will raise hell, and like Twitter might get it, but it took still like kind of an over the top thing. It wasn't just like if I make the simplest joke and stereotype black people that I'm going to be canceled, right? It still took virality and usually something pretty fucking serious.
I'm so old. I don't know.
Okay, well, to break it down for you, so the dawn of wokeness as it's known today, I think it was in like the post-Trump era, after Trump won the election in 2016. There was a big movement to deplatform and kind of push away those who, I guess, the left feel like had galvanized them into the presidency. So there was this big idea that if you push people off mainstream social media platforms, they would go away. Now we know through Trump's re-election, that's not even true. But at the time, that was the mantra. Problematic viewpoints needed to be silenced, tucked away somewhere, and they would sort of die in isolation. So I think that was the climate where you first got started.
I've always advocated against this. If you push Nazis into a corner, let's say you have a room with 4 corners, right, and you start pushing Nazis out, and the first 4 people, you put one in this top right, one in the top left, one in the bottom right, one in the bottom left, but then you get a Nazi number 5, you got to put him somewhere, right? You're pushing them out of the center, pushing them away, you got to put them somewhere, then you got 2 Nazis in a corner. And by the time you push them all away, you've just pushed them into smaller, more radicalized groups that meet somewhere else. Hence the dawn of Rumble and the fucking kick streamers and all that shit.
Started 2017. That time period was like crucial for getting people off mainstream platforms. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I would say that you got to get into the psychology of those days. It felt like anybody that wasn't on board with the most progressive agenda had no options. There was just no alternative. It was going to be progressive, liberal, feminist, BLM, all that kind of stuff. And if you were to the right of John McCain, you're no platformed. Censored, banned from all the platforms. You're fired from your job. You're ostracized socially. And I think what happened really in 2021 when Trump got banned from the platforms is it felt like 70 million people got canceled. 70 million people that voted for Trump, or 60, 70 million people. We were all felt like, oh, so if Trump is out of politics and we're all banned from the platforms, then how is there any redress for our grievances? Do we just have to shut up and get with the program and we're all going to be progressive? And I think that drove people to a far more radical place where people said, well, what really is a solution? We can't.
What's crazy is like our mainstream lefts, they'll call us socialist, communist, fucking woke, crazy, liberal, whatever, is not like the rest of the world. Our left is like their right for the rest of the world.
Talk. We can't express ourselves. We can't participate in the process or run for office. And I was one of the people saying that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to drive people to extremism. If you don't talk, if people don't feel like they have a seat at the table in enfranchisement, I think then they start exploring options outside the system, outside of the political process, the democratic process. So I think it's self-inflicted in many ways.
So you feel like after the mass deplatforming in 2021, whenever people on the right got pushed to platforms like Parler, Gab, Rumble, etc., the lack of discourse and like the political singularity of those platforms created more extremism?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because look.
Yeah, the algorithm serves up that kind of bullshit, right? That's why, and Twitter still set that way. That's why when you go to Twitter, you just end up leaving pissed. Every time you go to Twitter, you're like, what the fuck is wrong with our world? Because it feeds you the shit that you fucking hate. The shit that you would disagree with. The shit that is just so out fucking rageous. And it amplifies the crazier voices. So the people on the right, the reason they're seeing these crazy left takes where like, you should castrate all men and white people should apologize just for existing and being white is because they're getting the most extreme version shipped to them of the stuff that they fucking hate.
You take Trump off of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and I predicted this in 21. I said, watch, you're going to see alternative social media rise because some venture capitalists are going to see there's a huge market of 70 million people that are going to follow Trump because Trump is no platform. And that's exactly what happened. Rumble blew up, Elon bought Twitter, and what happened when you had total free speech on these platforms? Well, Twitter now resembles 4chan, and now, there's no gatekeepers. And I think it did push people in a radical direction. And honestly, people are even blowing past me. Now there's like mainstream normie types that are even blowing past me in terms of how radical they are. People start saying things like, there's no political solution, there's going to be a civil war, we need a revolution. And I think that's because the message from the left was, you're crushed. You have no options, you can't win, there's no alternative. Trump is going to be indicted, in charge, and can't run. You can't be on Twitter, you can't have a job. And so people started to say, okay, well, we still exist. We're still here. We still have these concerns. What do we do now? And then people start to say, well, we need a revolution. And I'm one of the only people saying, no, we should still engage in the process and talk with each other. And it's not all one-sided. I think there's problems on the left and the right, but I certainly think it takes two to tango.
Okay, so there, we agree. I think that there are problems on the left and the right. And I don't disagree with some of the things that you just said. I guess I just came to a different conclusion that there are some things that people should be deplatformed for. Not that they can't say it, but they want to say it. But I think that it's a right of anybody.
Okay, top 3 things. What do you think?
There's a difference between being able to say that you're proud of your white heritage and also being just flat out racist. I think that there's a difference between saying you're proud of your Christian heritage and the white culture from which you come from and Nazis, or that you adopt the Nazism as a legitimate ideology. I think that there's a difference between saying that you disagree with the United States policy as it relates to Israel and saying that the Holocaust.
I see.
I was like, Mom, Dad, Hitler
Posting a video, cute video.
was awesome. Hitler was right, and the Holocaust didn't happen. And my parents were like, we cannot believe.
Hitler was right and the Holocaust didn't happen. Fuentes has praised Hitler and denied the Holocaust, questioning whether the gas chambers even existed or ever existed. This is the foundation of his anti-Semitic worldview.
Those would be top 3 things in my mind. I know that you believe that some people took you out of context, and I do agree. Look, I'm both.
The people who, so Nick Fuentes, one of his first big viral moments after post-canceling, when he started falling in with the, the Nazi crowd and whatever, was if you had to bake 6 million cookies, how many ovens would you need? And a lot of ovens, you know what I mean? Because the 6 million Jews that died, and they put them in ovens, a lot of them in ovens, right, and cremated them. And then they'll argue stuff like, oh, the doors didn't seal and the smokestacks weren't big enough and Zyklon B was just used to delouse. It wasn't, used to kill people, and just a whole bunch of silly arguments about revisionism, right? It's, hey, it probably happened, but it wasn't this many. It couldn't have been that many, and it wasn't just Jews. They rounded up these people and those people and this people too, and then the Jews latched on and they inflated the number, and they'll even argue at some point like there wasn't even that many Jews alive back then, and just crazy stuff.
Both the right and the left, there are these gatekeepers, 100%. And look at me, the mainstream press just destroyed me for 7 years without any real kind of reflection about what they were doing. I do think that, some of those things are legitimate reasons to say, we don't want you on our, on a commercial platform. Would you agree with that? I mean, you just said, for instance, people calling for like an armed revolution, like people calling for actual violence. You're opposed to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm against violence, and I do think those are one of the legitimate things that should be taken from the platform. There's a lot of the stuff on social media I don't agree with, but again, what started to happen is there was this like editorial censorship where certain ideas were banned, and it was such a broad brush and also totally opaque and ad hoc. You'd be on YouTube, like I was, for example, they banned me for life and didn't even give me a reason, not a specific quote, not a specific infraction, and so you don't know what the rules are, you don't know what the process is, they just take you down, and especially now when everything is digital, it's not just the social platforms, it's the other ones like Uber, Airbnb, whatever. It feels like you're being denied almost something like a civil right, because the social platforms are the modern public square. Increasingly with Uber, Airbnb, the banking apps, you can't live your life without the tech platforms, and it felt like if you just simply had the wrong opinions or you were the wrong kind of person, you were being deprived of like a basic civil right or being able to participate in society. So, and I think maybe that's an area of collaboration where we recognize maybe it is a civil right to use the digital platforms, but here are the rules. Here's what you can say, here's what you can't say, here's the process, maybe there's a reconciliation mechanism, but the censorship was just out of control. I don't think anyone disagrees there's a reasonable limit, though.
Yeah, no, I guess what I'm saying is that I don't see that as a result of left-wing or right-wing ideology. I view that kind of level of deplatforming. Look, I was debanked. I was debanked before I was ever even charged with anything. I lost every bank account. It took me, 9 months once they, the Trump administration, said that they were starting an investigation into me to be able to actually get a bank account again. And I don't want to tell you the bank because tomorrow they may debank me again. But my point is that those people are incredibly identifiable. I've been talking and going around and I say things like, I don't think we're nearly as divided as they're telling us we are, because I do believe that there are an identifiable group of people that are responsible for.
I think that it's to keep us divided, dude. People can't, the fact that we have people that need social safety net programs, food stamps or child care or help going to school or grants or tax relief or whatever, that also advocate that like, hey, billionaires work hard. They should be able to keep every dime they earn. Give them another tax break. That's what I say. That it'll trickle down on me. It's just wild.
An enormous amount of the discord and division.
Baked Alaska.
I think that these social media companies that are controlled by 3, 4, 5, individuals have made clear that they only care about one thing. They only care about how much money they can produce for themselves and the people that hold stocks in their company. Even to the degree where we know for certain that they're driving teenage girls to the highest levels of suicide by a factor like exponential factors directly related to the content that they're being pushed, and they won't do anything about it.
Right.
And so to the same degree, I think they, a lot of what you call wokeness was maybe an illegitimate but a financial decision based on a lot of these
corporate psyop, maybe.
Corporate psyop.
Thank you.
I mean, by the way, exactly. I just
want to back up real quick. So you talked about certain people going too far. About 2.5 months ago, I visited a whites-only community in Hardy, Arkansas. And I don't know why. I guess coming from like a more like left-wing place, I'm from Seattle. I kind of assumed there was like a united front on the right for some reason. So I'm out there, I'm chilling with these dudes, they're like sword fighting, having barbecues. Overall, it was a good time for them. I had a hard time connecting with them because I don't agree with them, but it's all good. I was having fun for a couple days. And then, like right as I was there, I guess you had hit them up on X or something and said like, hey, I don't want to associate with you guys. What happened there?
Well, that was really more of a personal disagreement with the guy that founded it.
Yeah.
But I do think it's an interesting project. And it's interesting that got so much pushback, this whites-only community, because you know what? If you go to a lot of these different neighborhoods in major cities, there are ethnic enclaves. And it's not like there's an explicit rule that you have to be a certain ethnicity, but we all know in Chicago and New York and LA, you got certain neighborhoods where it is 80, 90% one ethnicity. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of white people that say we kind of want something similar. I don't think there's anything.
Okay, let's back up.
That's most of America, dude. That's my town. Right? You say, oh, well, the white people can't have this. That's my town. That's most of small town America is that. It's a white-only enclave.
The histories of New York and Chicago, I feel like that was also a conscious decision that was made. Like,
I tell you where it's blacks only. It's in Cabrini Green, where Mayor Daley made everybody that was black live in the Cabrini Green. I mean, it's not that wasn't by choice. It's not a choice that these ethnic enclaves are 80 or 90%, whatever that ethnicity is. It's because that's the only place in which they had an opportunity to live unbothered, or where they were told that they had to live because of the historical fact that they could not move into other neighborhoods. You could not move into parts of South Chicago without being stoned.
Right.
Literally. Right.
Yeah,
and so so it's not as if those ethnic enclaves are there by choice. And so
also ethnic enclaves do exist for like specific variations of different Europeans. Like there is like places that are chocolate. Like South Philly's full of Italians.
There's Little Italy and there's Little Korea.
I think the issue, what I always like, what confused me the most about the whites only community is like there's just so many different kinds of white people in America. So like to establish a unified white culture with a place so diverse and full of like different regional flavors just kind of felt confusing to me because it can mean a different thing depending on what part of the country, what European enclave you originated from. Like we're Irish people from the Philly area. Can you compare that to like surfers in San Diego or even like Italian Americans in Staten Island?
Right. Destiny talks about when people are like, oh well, they're destroying what it means to be an American, like immigrants, right? They're taking away from what it means to be an American, and they don't want to what's the word they use all the time? Assimilate to American values or standards or what it is. What is an American? dude, if I took somebody from my town and put them with somebody who lives in LA, do you think they would agree together if I said, okay, write a list. What is American? You get 5 things each. How many things you think would match on their list? What does it mean to be an American? If you want to assimilate to America from Irwin, Tennessee and Long Beach, California, right? How many things do you think would match? None. 1 maybe?
I don't know, everything just feels so different. So when I got there, I was trying to identify what they meant by white culture. It wasn't really based on shared cultural practices, more the exclusion of people who weren't white. So they weren't stoked on being European necessarily, or more just oh, we're here because those people aren't here. So it just kind of felt more negative than constructive.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not really involved with that project in particular, but I think that, look, I mean, you talk about the anger that's out there and the frustration. And I think part of the frustration, let's be honest, is that white people do feel like we are being boxed out in major cities in the country. And it feels like, look, there's a little Haiti and there's various ethnic enclaves where you get that local culture and they do their, cultural festivals and that sort of thing. And white people feel like they're being pushed out and they want a space where things are familiar.
That's just not true. We have everywhere else, right? We have everywhere else. I don't know. I can't believe they want to teach black history. We don't have white history. That's just history. Because we excluded the black people from it for so long. So yeah, that's just called history. It's all white history because we kept them downtrodden, right? And excommunicated from anything that had to do with history while they were fucking slaves or mistreated or whatever. So yeah.
The Italian festival that happens in every city.
Well, here's a good example. So,
or St. Patrick's Day?
Well, there's no Irish neighborhood in Chicago. There's Little
Italy.
Sure
there is.
I mean, there's some remnant in Bridgeport.
Yeah.
It's important to note that, I'm not trying to get into a shouting match here, but as a family coming from a family who did leave Philadelphia in the 60s because of black migration from the South after the Civil Rights Act was passed, there was a sort of mass flight of white people into the suburbs, and that kind of led to a homogenization of different cultures because they rushed so fast to build these identical strip mall suburbs that it was very hard to maintain cultural bonds that made different European and white neighborhoods unique around the 1950s and before. So I feel like the mass suburbanization is also a big factor that led to those cultural bonds breaking.
Yeah, but why did that happen? I mean, a lot of the suburbanization is because of the race riots in the 1960s. People moved out because of the violence. My grandfather was in the National Guard in Chicago when after MLK got assassinated, the whole West Side burned to the ground. Yeah. People didn't want to be around that anymore.
Why were the riots?
MLK Jr. was assassinated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so does that justify burning down the city?
No, I didn't say it justifies it, but it sure justifies an enormous amount of the anger, the same kind of anger that you feel about being left out, the same kind of anger that you're expressing right now about the idea that you're culturally irrelevant, that you don't have a place in society. Imagine if you were a 26-year-old black man in 1968 and saw your hero be assassinated.
I saw Trump get shot in the ear, and
did he?
It's basically like to be American, white, male is like being at the top of a fucking ladder. Everybody else is on the ground, okay? You're at the top of a fucking ladder. You can still fall off the ladder, right? You might not climb any higher. You might not actually climb up the rest of the ladder, right? You're 3/4 of the way up. That's where you started at. You might not climb to the top. You might fall off. But you're 3/4 of the way up a ladder. Everybody else is on the ground. And then a black person gets 2 feet off the ground. And you're like, hey, why is that guy going up and I'm just sitting here?
I saw Charlie Kirk get shot, and I didn't see any cities get burned down.
I think it's a very, very, very different thing. I think
How's that different? Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck.
Yeah.
And liberals celebrated all over social media by Tyler Robinson.
Yeah. Who is what?
Who is some liberal guy.
He is?
Mm-hmm.
But
he's got a transgender boyfriend.
Does that make him liberal? Because he's transgender? Because he's gay?
So. Well, because he's got a transgender boyfriend, yeah, I think so.
It makes him liberal.
I think he was liberal, yeah.
Okay. Well, he didn't come from a liberal family. He didn't come from a liberal enclave. He didn't come from a liberal background. He's not a minority. He was a Mormon, correct? Mm-hmm. And grew up in a Mormon household, and he went to a largely Mormon college, and he ended up committing an act of violence, according to the FBI and the authorities in Utah that charged him.
And he's like, leftists celebrated it. You don't think that people celebrated the shoot? Well, we didn't have social media, obviously. You don't think people celebrated when Martin Luther King Jr. was shot?
How does that in any way compare to what we're talking about? I'm not justifying the violence that occurred after the death of Martin Luther King, but you're saying that that person, this Tyler, whoever his name is was as disenfranchised as the African-American community in 1968 in inner cities?
Well, the question is who we want to live around. I'm not living around blacks. Sorry, I want white kids, and I don't want my white kids bringing home black people to marry. In the 1960s, the West Side burns down. We don't want to live around that. We don't want to live around a city.
That's not when the white flight happened.
It is. It was a big response to it, absolutely.
100% not. You make these historical connections that don't exist. Part of it was potentially, but before that, what Mayor Daley did is made Chicago the most segregated city in the entire United States, other than Boston. When you would come from the South to Chicago, African-Americans from the South, blacks in the South coming to Chicago would say that Chicago was twice the level of segregation and racism that occurred in the South. And so it wasn't as if you're coming into a situation in which you're feeling in any way enfranchised by the community and the situation that you're in. And as many people left simply because of the idea that someone was black moving into their neighborhood as the violence that occurred after the assassination of Martin Luther King. So the numbers actually, pre-1968 when King was shot, you had more people leave the city because of the desegregation, because of the 1964 Civil Rights Act than you did after the riots.
I think that's just not true. I think that the race riots were a huge driver of white flight to the suburbs. I think it's just dishonest to say that's not the case.
Okay, so what's your point about all this?
Well, we're talking about where people want to live.
Yeah, I know. So like in 2026.
Well, okay, how about in 2020 when Minneapolis burned to the ground, or how about in the summer of 2020 in Chicago.
Minneapolis didn't burn to the ground.
It didn't?
No. I mean, there were
BLM didn't destroy
If you guys need a physical witness to what happened in Minneapolis, there were many structures that burned to the ground. Not the city, but there was, I would say, between 40 to 50 buildings off of Lake Street in the south side that did burn to the ground. But most of the city was intact, but it was quite an intense situation.
People don't want to live around that. People don't want to live around that. You know, in Chicago, it rolled on into the summer, and it wasn't, you know, let's say, the anger of the oppressed and the disenfranchised.
So
they were looting. They were looting and carjacking. The criminals.
Are you saying that the problem with the 26-year-old white kid living in suburbia outside of Chicago and his feeling of being disenfranchised is because there was looting and rioting in Minneapolis by black people? And it's black people that are doing it.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with Oscar Metcalf was that he got stabbed in the neck at a track meet. And the problem with our city in Chicago is that the Magnificent Mile is gone. Water Tower Place is gone because of all the crime.
Nick, and the type of an entire generation of African Americans is that they've been getting killed by cops for decades. What are you talking about, Nick?
They commit crime. And listen, it's not...
Nick, that's not true. It's not true. Are you saying that police brutality as it relates to racism in the police force in the way in which police treat African Americans?
Why do white people not die at the same rates? You know what I mean? Like same crimes, same whatever. We're doing the same thing. You can literally watch fucking white people like freak out on cops, and cops just take a different fucking stance. They're treated differently when almost identical situations happen.
Nick, you could grow up here like I did between Wilmington and Philadelphia. And if you were a black dentist and you lived in Wilmington and you commuted to Philadelphia, the chances of you being pulled over by a state trooper, either Delaware or in Pennsylvania, are about 50 times that would be if it was a white guy. 50 times. And so what you're trying to tell me is that the problem in America right now is that a 26-year-old white kid who lives in suburban Chicago doesn't feel like he has access because he's been canceled or he's been woke. And the problem is black people.
I didn't say the problem is black people.
Well, you just did, Nick. You just said
the problem is crime. And we know who's doing the crime in Chicago. The carjackings, shootings, teen takeovers. We know why there's no business on the Mag Mile anymore. And it's because they steal cars, they drive them through windows. And listen, black people are some of the biggest victims of the black crime. But we're not allowed to talk about it because of the racial dimension.
We're talking about it right here. You have a platform in which millions of people listen to you.
Well, after Elon had to buy Twitter and open it up. It wasn't like that before. I was banned from everything for many years. So no, you weren't allowed. You're right. We can talk about it now, but that's only because a good guy won.
Hey, what's up, guys? There's something I forgot to tell you about. We also just launched our own streaming platform called C5.now. We have 5 films on there right now. Film number 1, The Art of Protest, made by the homies over at Indoctrinated, who we interviewed a few months back. Film 2, Rat Film by Theo Anthony, set in Baltimore, investigates the lives and times of the rodent population through the eyes of the people who love the rats of Baltimore, study the rats of Baltimore, or are paid to execute and trap the rodents of Charm City. Documentary number 3, Starcash by Haley Garrigus, an amazing Wall Street documentary that follows the lives of market predictors. That's right, stock analysts who stare at the planets to figure out what's going to happen with the money. Documentary number 4 is called Physician Heal Thyself by director Asher Penn, a fascinating lifelong profile featuring tons of archival footage.
Those are cool.
A physician, psychiatrist, philosopher, sorcerer of the mind named Gabor Mate. Very influential dude as far as addiction and trauma and healing. He's about as good as it gets. He's the top dog in that realm. So check that documentary out. Documentary number 5 is my own. I had to put my own sauce on there to get the train moving. It is called Finding Orson, a 45-minute documentary that I shot over the course of a year and a half, trying to reunite a beloved friend and elderly community member named Rick Shore with his lost parrot named Orson. Maybe he's just too embarrassed to admit that he doesn't want the bird anymore. So those are the 5 films on C5.now. A totally independent, creator residual forward, power to the people documentary platform, not gatekept by Hollywood. And what's unique about C5.now is that unlike the major studios, we're not afraid to take a risk. And of course, pay creators fairly. The link is in the pinned comment and description box of this video. And most importantly, it's not just a website. It's an app on your phone and a smart TV app. So get your popcorn, get your remote, sit down. It's time to learn. I'll see you guys soon.
That's cool. Launching his own thing.
From being banned on Twitter to being on YouTube to creating an entire show. I know you're not, but now you have Kick and now you have all of these other things. You have an enormous platform. I want to find common ground of how much of a shithead Donald Trump is. We can get there. We can get there. Okay? What I don't understand is how you didn't recognize that in 2016, how you didn't recognize that in 2020, and how you didn't recognize that in 2024. Because Donald Trump hasn't changed. Donald Trump hasn't changed at all. Donald Trump has been Donald Trump since he came out of the womb of a woman that was an immigrant to this country. And so what I want to know, though, is that I don't know how we get past this idea that the biggest problem that you have with your personal situation and how you extrapolate that to the situation of other white kids that are your age, that feel disenfranchised, that feel left out, that feel they don't have a shot at the American dream, is because of black and brown people, because of Mexicans, because of Venezuelans, because of Haitians, because of, it's all these other, Nick, with you. It seems to me, and I've listened to a lot of this stuff, it's always them. We need to build a wall. Where's the wall, Nick? He never built the wall. Why'd you vote for him in 2020? Why'd you vote for him in 2024?
I didn't vote for him in 2024.
Okay. My point being is that whenever you identify your problem as being something that is other, that you can point to, that's a minority, that is a group of people, that's the Jews, I mean, before, remember, all of us, it was the Irish Catholics who were all committing the crime, who weren't allowed into bars, who weren't allowed into, because you know why? Because they were dirty, poor, non-Europeans, they were Irish. Every time it's wrong. Every time history has proven that to be wrong in the United States of America. Every time. Inclusion has been our greatest strength. Diversity has been our greatest strength. And I hear you talk about this idea of white culture. What fucking white culture are you talking about, man? What
Shakespeare, Dante, Mozart. We're in Philadelphia, the founding fathers.
Yeah.
That's your white culture.
How about the Count of Monte Cristo? Would you consider that part of our white culture?
Sure.
Okay. Well, it was written by a black man in France in the 1700s.
In a milieu of European civilization.
So what?
You're picking out one example. It really is. Listen.
Nick, I'm really not.
Hey, guys, I think we're reaching what's called a rock in a hard place. Let's talk about Israel.
Let me respond to this because you can tell me I'm always blaming the other.
No, Nick, for real. Here's the thing, is that the way that you talk and throw out these historical facts, which, by the way, aren't fucking facts.
Okay? Which ones aren't facts?
As it relates to the Civil Rights Movement in 1968, and the reason why we're out of the problem that we're in is because the Civil Rights Act passed in 1964. Dr. Martin Luther King was killed and shot by a white racist, white supremacist in 1968 on a balcony of a motel. That's the root of our trouble, because an entire people that have been disenfranchised and enslaved for over 400 years.
We're sick of hearing about that, though. It's 2026.
You may be sick of hearing about it, but you know what? They aren't. And I'll tell you what, Nick.
Get over it. It's America.
Okay, but Nick, you can say stuff like that, okay, without having to say it like that. And
that's not how it started, though.
This is a legitimate argument, but it's
Nick Hunter, what do you guys make of the concept of community collapse? Have you guys heard of this?
No.
So it's got nothing to do with race, got nothing to do with money, but it's kind of a crazy stat. So in 2019, before COVID, 76% of Americans said they were part of in-person community that gave them some kind of value. After COVID and this year, it was 19%. So I think that politics and race aside, one of the biggest issues is the collapse of social bonds, third spaces, communities, in-person engagement, which comes with loneliness, more time online, and more division. I understand. I feel like you guys aren't going to agree. I want to talk about what you guys think can be done on an individual and community level.
You know, billionaires and mega corporations know this. They know that they need social safety nets. They know that they need communities. They know that they need strong ties to communities. They know that people need to work together, be together, socialize. If you go look at Bentonville, Arkansas, okay, which is like the Walmart headquarters. They couldn't keep employees. They couldn't keep people happy. No one wanted to fucking live there. It was like one of the worst jobs to have. Like no one wanted to come work for corporate, blah, blah, blah. And they have overly invested in their schools, their museums, their fucking art exhibits, their parks, their hiking trails, their biking trails, their downtown. They've made it almost like a corporate funded socialist utopia to attract people and keep people there. And they're something like their population has like fucking tripled in the last decade or some shit like that. Like it's amazing. So they know that, but instead they would rather keep us poor and separated and tax cuts for billionaires and take more services away and do everything that they fucking can, right? To make us to the breaking point while they put another fucking zero on their bank account. But they're not dumb. I saw there's a podcast interview that's got like 3 billionaires on it, and they're sitting there talking, and one of them says like, I wish I had the clip. He says something like, well, I think we should go ahead and pay more taxes. And the guys are like, whoa, what are you talking about? Ha ha ha, sure you want to pay more taxes? He's like, no, like either it's going to happen one of two ways. Either we're going to have to pay more in taxes and fix stuff and we can clearly afford it. Or two, it's going to get so bad they're going to come fucking take it from us. I don't want to be at the end of a fucking gun or a knife and someone demanding to eat the fucking rich when we could just go ahead and do our part. It's not hurting our income anymore, right? What's the difference between fucking, 1.2069 billion and 1.2068 billion at this point?
To stop people from hating each other and to create more belonging and engagement?
Well, number one, I think this. Okay, for real.
Podcasting.
No, not podcasting. This discussion. For me to be able to sit down with someone who I so vehemently disagree with and find some kind of common ground.
I mean, a guy at home who's watching this on his phone just thinking, I wish I could go outside. I don't know anyone.
Okay, well, here's what I'm talking about. It's all about connection. It is all about actually connecting with people. And I'm not talking about digitally connecting with people anonymously online. I'm talking about actually going out and connecting with people. And I don't have an answer to that. I don't any of us. We are in look, man, I just think that you are targeting the wrong problem, Nick. I think that our biggest problem right now doesn't have to do with this cultural divide or racial divide or religious divide or the idea that America is becoming less white or culturally relevant anymore. I think our biggest problem is literally an oligarchy that is inflaming every single division that we have. And by the way, and they're out for you, man. Just as much as anybody else.
Well, I agree.
So those platforms that we talk about that you're not allowed to be on because Elon's out on the platform. Elon doesn't give a shit about anything other than one thing. Money.
Real quick.
Money. It's his money.
I don't necessarily even agree with that.
Okay, well, you may not agree with that because you don't want to piss off Elon Musk.
Elon doesn't even like me, but I just
You're talking about the oligarchy, right? Like these billionaires, right? Like the goal of corporate capture of these industries is community collapse. They're trying to engineer things to make it antisocial. They want to eliminate every single small business. They want to make everyone a single person shopper, no carpooling, like to be a lonely consumer who only buys things for themselves online and doesn't talk to anyone in real life. That's what they want in real life. Like all this data center shit, like everything they're doing is in a way trying to break up in-person engagement. And I feel like for you guys, it might be hard to answer because both of you guys are what they call like controversial public figures. Like there's places that you, like in 2018, if you were to go to a dive bar in, let's say, Poplar Bluff, Missouri, you would have been in danger. You know what I mean? At that time. For you were in danger physically in a left-wing city. It's just the truth. So I feel like you guys have been deprived of the ability to have normal lives. You especially. You know what I mean? You in general, but I feel like, your controversies came a little bit later in life. For you, I feel like you haven't even been able to grow up as a normal person. Is that
yeah, that's true. Well, and in terms of, building community back and everything like that, the data says that really the loss of society is the fact that we don't encounter people anymore. For example, on your way to work or, in ways that are unexpected. People wake up in their house, which is separate from everybody else. They get in their car by themselves, drive to work.
I'm going to find the clip.
And then they meet with their colleagues and everything, but then they go right home. Go home, have a beer, watch Netflix until they go to bed. Next day starts all over again. And so, I think it has a lot to do with maybe how we structure the cities. I think, honestly, a big part of it, there's like this abundance mindset with liberals. Liberals want to have prosperity and everything like that. How can you have that when the cities are not safe? I think that one of the ways, for example, if you want to have those encounters that are unplanned or spontaneous, they're going to happen maybe on the subway, on the bus, on your way to work. People don't want to ride the subway anymore. People don't want to ride the bus.
I just feel that if you look at the data, like right now, 2026, I think 2025 had the lowest homicide rate of any year in America for like the past 4 years. I feel like if you compare data from the 90s, like the cities, I get what you're saying, but the cities I have noticed are a lot safer. They're also, becoming more expensive. You're
absolutely right. What you're saying, Nick, is impossible to refute, right? Because everybody has an experience with violence or witnessing a crime, or whether it's just in their local newspaper or not. Is that I don't think that is in any way limited to only urban environments. I think that the top 10 poorest red states in the country, and their crime rates are 10 times what many urban centers are.
So you'd be comparing like West Virginia, coal country, disenfranchised to like an urban neighborhood.
Yeah, in terms of per capita crime, in terms of per capita murder, in terms of per capita child sexual abuse. Yeah, I think the things that people really care about, things like that, is their own personal safety. Yeah. It is not limited to African American urban or Latino American urban environment.
I think they just need to outset a class, right? Like a millionaire, like let's say you have $1.0 million, right, in assets and your bank account, blah, blah, is not what it used to be, especially like with inflation and maybe you're living in a very expensive city, you know, you basically just own a home and a car and shit and live in a city. But when we start getting up like close to a billionaire, there needs to be this bracket where they have a special set of rules. They shouldn't be allowed like to have everything tied up in stocks. Like they're paid out in stocks so they look poor. And then they take fucking loans against those stocks from the banks and live off that cash and never pay capital gains taxes. Never pay fucking taxes on anything, right? Mr. Beast said it in an interview the other day. He's like, everybody calls me rich, but I borrow money to make videos. I have to borrow money to make videos. You probably got more money in your bank account than I do. Yeah, because you own the controlling share in this giant fucking, you're a fucking billionaire, dude. Like, get fucked. Stop telling us like, oh, you probably have more cash in your bank account than I do. All mine's tied up in a company. If you take away the companies and the houses and the cars and every asset I own, I'm broke. Get fucked.
It's not. It exists. Carjackings do happen, but you know where they happen? They happen in Biloxi, Mississippi, just as much as they happen in Chicago.
I'm skeptical of that.
I just think the idea of like safety, at risk, crime is no. I feel like media has overblown the level of
everybody's going to fact check both of us on this. And but I agree with you. But my point about all of it is, though, is that you can always point to a reason, Nick. There's never been a time in which there hasn't been crime in major urban areas where you pack a lot of people in. You're right, though, is that the difference between us feeling like each other are neighbors and that we can find some common ground is the fact, you know, you can live in existence now and by the time you're 56 years old and never really have to leave your house to make a living, to, you know, you don't go to the community center anymore. And I don't know how to fix that. And I certainly don't know how to fix that.
Right? Because community is like an essential human need, not the most important thing. So when you were deprived of that, you're more likely to look for a radical solution and be like, everything's broken, we need to try something really out there. So you might embrace something more reactionary on left or right to be like, fuck this, you know, we need something new. And so I'm not trying to draw this like male loneliness, like incel pipeline that the media tries to do all the time. But do you see a connection there between like people being lonely and having less friends and so cultural choice taking over community value systems or community engagement and people just like driving to the extreme?
100%.
Yeah, well, Nick's kind of like my issues with Hassan Piker. Nick doesn't live what he preaches, right? Like the other day, he's like, where am I supposed to move? You want me to move to Oklahoma and eat barbecue? No, I like living in Chicago. I like being able to get sushi. I like being able to get Mongolian barbecue. I like that. Like he loves everything that comes from living in a big, diverse city with multiple cultures and shit going on like that. Doesn't want to live in fucking white-ass bumfuck Oklahoma, but also advocates against all that and is like, hey, we have to come back with our American culture.
I think social dislocation is probably the #1 problem of our times, because you look at the young people, and you're right, it is one of those essential human needs, is to connect and have that sense of familiarity, to be seen, to see, and to be seen. And that's something young people don't have. And I think, by the way, you look at the way young people socialize and even the mentality. I think a lot of young people have this absolute drive to go to college. Why? It's an extension of high school. And what do high school and college have in common? It's a community. You're in the quad. You can see and be seen. There's sort of like a status, reputation. You're constantly involved with other people. And I think young people look at when they graduate from college like falling off a cliff and now life is over. Because now you just have your job, the gym, and going back home, and that's it. And this is why a lot of young people then want to move to the big cities. Got to go to New York, got to go to Chicago or LA, where it's happening. And they want to get a condo or an apartment downtown because they want to go to the bar scene, extend college a little bit longer. And I think that's just not really a sustainable way to have a society. There has to be a way for people to still have that sense of community outside of, let's say, college and high school, even into their adulthood, and then into their old age. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest problems going on. And I agree. I think it drives, even to your point about the whites-only community in Arkansas, I think it is driving these, let's call it ghettoization or insulation of people going into these artificial values-based communities. Because where are you going to find people? Go online, start spouting about politics, or, you know, even not just for incels and right-wingers, but even on the left. Someone like Tyler Robinson, he's on Discord. He's on Discord with all of the Overwatch players and all the LGBTQ or whatever. And I think that, you know, there's a tendency there where everybody kind of amplifies some of the resentment or feelings there. So I agree, that's a huge driver.
So for you, like back in high school when you were like first kind of starting to use the internet and all that, did you build most of your community in person outside Chicago, or was it mostly online?
When I was in high school or college?
High school.
High school, I had real friends in Model UN. That was my favorite thing. So that was.
But you were still creating like some kind of content at the time.
Not in high school, no.
Okay, so you went to BU.
Yes.
Were most of your friends like classmates there? Like when did you start to kind of build your online persona and community around your
When he went to college and he said some fucking wild shit and got canceled.
It wasn't until I left college, so to that point, I had friends in college. And then when I left college and started my show independently, then it was all people online, and everybody I knew was people from my community for the most part.
But your cancellation from mainstream platforms was effectively the same thing as like a community collapse for your personal life, right?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even say it was just a cancellation, but even more just returning home from college.
What do you think would have happened to you, like career-wise and personal life-wise, if you never would have been mainstreamed? I mean, I guess removed from major social media platforms.
Oh, it'd be a lot easier to make friends, let's say, because, you know, being banned on Instagram, you might as well be dead. In Generation Z, that's how everybody sees each other, meets each other, talks to each other. So I think I probably have a wider, livelier circle.
Do you feel like you had less friends after that?
No, I'd say it's about the same.
No, but I mean, you said that like you feel like it would have been easier to make friends.
It would have been easier to make more friends, yeah, sure.
So aside from your career, how was your like personal and social life affected in those following years?
Well, it's brutal, you know. I mean, because everybody that I knew from high school is on Instagram, on Facebook, and I'm just not on there. It's almost like you're removed from the earth. For Generation Z, I understand for older people, for different generation, people still meet up or stay in touch in other ways. But if you're not online as a young person, you might as well be dead.
Do you think you would have said like some of the more extreme things that you did say if you I guess were allowed to remain on the mainstream internet?
Absolutely, yeah.
Looking back, I'm not trying to get you to like take something back necessarily. What's like one thing that you said when you were younger where you're like, fuck, I wish I could take that back?
You know, I don't know if I regret what I said. It's just how you say it.
Yeah, like,
you know?
Can you think of an example of like when you listen back to something, you're like, jeez.
Yeah. So I did this rally in 2023 called Fuentes Rally 2, and the one comment and I said, we're talking about a spiritual battle between Christians and everybody else. And I said, we're in a holy war. I said, we're going to make them die in a holy war. And the second I said that, I was like, didn't mean to say that. It's an extemporaneous speech. So you don't rehearse it, you just say things. And I was like, didn't mean that. Shouldn't have said that. So it's always the how. It's always in the delivery that I...
Nick, I can think of about 4 things that I really wish you would take back right now. The cookies in the oven?
Well, it's a joke.
But it's not, Nick. My wife is Jewish. My son is Jewish.
The growth inequality is fucking, yeah. The wealth inequality is fucking, the growth of wealth inequality is fucking insane.
No, Nick, I promise you. Don't get mad.
I'm not mad.
Okay, I know, but okay. But you've got to understand how incredibly...
That's the, you can't bake 6 million cookies. You need so many ovens. You need enough ovens. So basically what he's saying is there wasn't enough concentration camps or enough capacity at those camps to actually kill 6 million Jews.
Whether it's a joke or not.
As a joke.
Passed down from generation to generation, whether or not, and by the way, not just from the Holocaust, not just from 1939 on, 2,000 years of history, okay? Forget about Israeli politics and Netanyahu, because I think we agree about Bibi Netanyahu. I'm positive we do, and I've listened to you talk about it. But you got to understand, look at me, man.
I see.
It hurts. It hurts. Nick, I promise you it does. When you compare my wife's family to cookies going to an oven, it hurts. And you've got to understand that. And by the way, I'm looking at you, and I believe that you do know that.
See, that's where you lose me. That's where you lose me.
Okay, Nick, okay, I'm telling you.
Well, listen, are we here to talk, or are you here to lecture me and
Okay,
preach
no, you're
me?
right. Let me listen.
Okay.
You're right.
I do feel like some people push it too far, even though it was a joke. You know what I mean? Like, he was reading a comment. The comment said, if I was going to bake 6 million cookies, how many ovens would I need? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'd take a lot of ovens, wouldn't it?
So this is the thing, because, and I think this is a disconnect. I think that the left, and even people on the right, they're losing the young people. Why do people love me? Not in spite of, but because of the outrageous things that I say. Not in spite of, but because I say offensive things. Because I, let's say, drop the N-word on a video or something. It's because people are sick of the preachiness, the lecturing.
Okay,
they really are.
But Nick, I disagree. I think that you're appealing to the lowest common denominator of thought. If you're hating on the people that they think are the reason for their suffering, then you must be on their side. I don't think that you believe that about the Holocaust. I think you think the Holocaust did happen. But forget about whether or not you think that it is used politically in a way that is obtuse and wrong. But I think that you do believe that. And I think that you have to. Like, what's your cultural heritage?
I'm Italian, Mexican, and Irish.
Mexican. When did they come in Italian? When did the Mexicans come? When did the Irish come?
Mexicans came turn of the last century. Yeah. Italians came in the 1860s. Yeah. Irish came in the early 1900s.
Okay, so maybe you wouldn't care about something that is like grossly offensive just on the face of it and think that, oh, why can't people just believe that that's funny? But you got to understand this from the perspective of somebody that has the trauma, and I think that there is such a thing as generational trauma, and those stories are passed down generation to generation. When you say something like that, they completely shut off. They can't hear another thing that you're saying about this cultural disconnect, about losing communities, about the feeling of being left out or left behind in a world in which there no longer is this sense of community. All the other things that you say, everybody else is left, and what you do pick up, the ones that hear the dog whistle. You pick up the ones that say, yeah, that's the way that I feel, because it's radical. It's like he's willing to say the thing that nobody else will say in this environment, and then you get an enormous amount of niche, but love from that. And I just don't believe that you believe that. I don't believe that you think that it was appropriate for you to say something like that. I don't think you believe that it's appropriate to say women shouldn't vote.
Let's give Nick a second to respond to the first thing.
I know I talk constantly. That's how I do this.
It's all good. It's all good.
I apologize.
I get it, and I understand that perspective, and it is offensive, and it is provocative, and that's sort of what makes it funny. I mean, what we would say in our generation's edgelording, we're being edgy, we're being provocative, and I think that it is that kind of overbearing sense for our entire...
I'm the king of edgelord.
Well,
let's let Nick explain the psychology.
It's that overbearingness that my generation's had our entire lives. That's not appropriate. That's not funny. Think of the trauma. That's racist. That's white supremacist. That makes it funny. That makes it different.
It's like the point now where they've gotten to like the 9/11 jokes. It's like a group of people that'll literally freak out and say you can't make 9/11 jokes, right? But the younger generation, they're disconnected from it. They just make the jokes.
Interesting. And let me grant, by the way, I think that now, and this is maybe a concession towards you, now that my kind of humor has become mainstream and popular, I don't even think that that's funny anymore. People do the edgelording thing. It's become so commonplace and so tired. I don't think it's that funny or impressive. That's a big part of why I kind of moved past it, because 10 years ago, it was treated like sacrilegious. And there's something funny about the fact that you could say a word or make a joke and make people lose their minds and freak out, and it was like an international incident if you said the wrong thing. And I think that's what made it tempting, especially for a young person. You want to rebel. You want to be defiant. You want to be a little revolutionary or something. Now, as time has gone on, I think that's become a fad. Everybody does it. It's lost its power. And I think that, by the way, part of why we're getting less of it is because instead of getting the preachy lecture from the left saying that's not appropriate, people just roll their eyes. Now, when an edgy white person says the N-word, people roll their eyes and go, really? That joke again? People hear someone wears a Nazi costume, makes a Holocaust joke. People go, really? That joke again? It's not impressive. It's not funny anymore. We've seen it before. And ironically, that is what makes you get less of it when you disempower those things by not giving them this over-the-top reaction, pretending like it's some great travesty.
So you think the new counterculture is going to be woke again?
No, I think it's a synthesis.
A synthesis of post-edgelordism and wokeism?
Yes, because I think that wokeism had its excesses. Yeah. Edgelording also has its excesses. And I think now we're finding a middle ground between saying the edgiest thing we can think of with no regard for anyone and saying everything is racist. If you say something, you should lose your job. We're finding a middle ground where, maybe it's tastefully offensive in small doses, less is more.
So it sounds like you believe in the survival of the American experiment.
Yeah, I really do. And listen, I don't think everything about wokeism was bad, necessarily.
What's the best thing about wokeism?
I think that genuinely it has made people more respectful and empathetic. Because let's be honest, 20 years ago, let's say when I was growing up, I think there was a lot of cruelty. And I think there were some hateful attitudes. And I think as time has gone on, this younger generation, they may not be even left-wing. They may not be what you consider woke, but I think they are respectful of people that have different ideas or, different way of life or from a different culture. We make jokes all the time about the fact that I'm like a far-right guy and I'm Mexican. People say I'm a white supremacist, I'm Mexican. And people make a joke that a lot of far-right people are Hispanic. And I think that's a consequence that there's very little genuine racial hatred in anybody anybody's DNA anymore, or any kind of hatred. And I think that's positive, but that went too far. And I think some of the other stuff went too far as well.
You know, one of these strange things about sitting in a room with these two is that they agree on almost nothing, but they've both lived the same nightmare. Hunter has
good interview.
turned into a decade of strangers picking through his texts, his private photos, his voice memo, and even his bank record, whereas Nick has been doxxed, swatted, had his DMs leaked probably more times than he can count, and more shenanigans. Different politics, but kind of same experience. Somebody somewhere decided that their personal information was public property, so they exhumed it and sent it off to the world. But here's the thing that most people don't know. A huge amount of that information actually isn't stolen. It's
Nick put on his Grindr profile that he never wants to be in politics, so I don't know.
for sale, legally. Currently, there are over 420 companies called data brokers, whose entire business is collecting your home address, your phone number, your relatives, your previous addresses, your income bracket, and selling access to anybody who pays. Last October, one of these vendors got breached, and 70,000 people had their government IDs exposed in one day. That's what this ecosystem looks like when it fails, and it fails constantly. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but I'm not Hunter Biden, Andrew Callahan, or Nick Fuentes. Nobody's coming after me, and honestly, I get that. But here's what actually happens when your info is sitting in these databases. Every spam call you get, every spam text about a package you didn't order, every weird email from a bank that you don't use, that's the data broker economy. It's why scammers know your name before they call. This issue is affecting so many Americans. The FBI just said that Americans lost $21 billion.
Jesus, how long is this ad read, bro?
$20 on a people search site, and they know where you live. Man, that your info be removed and send fresh history. They had it crawls the web. My own info through incognito. And you hablas español?
No, not a little bit.
Board members listed across a bunch of people search websites. Within the first week, though, dozens of removal requests were already in progress, and you can watch the whole thing happen on the Incogni dashboard. Go to incogni.com/channel5. Use code channel5 all caps 60% off. All right, back to Hunter and Nick. Hablas español?
No, not a little bit. I guess from high school.
Can you do a little bit?
Un poco.
Okay,
I was speaking from my dad, so.
Did you grow up like around a lot of Mexicans?
No, all white people for the most part.
Did they know you were Mexican?
They did. And I'm not gonna lie. I mean, people make fun of me for that.
What they say?
Well, like for example, one time, when I was in Model UN, I was entering high school as a freshman. They looked at my name on the roster without knowing me, and they told me this after the fact. The leadership of the club, they said, "Oh, we thought you were just some Mexican kid, so we gave you a bad committee assignment."
Wow.
But see, I heard that and I laughed. I said, "That's funny." You know, whereas a lot of people would say, "Oh, that's traumatic. I'm a victim of racism." You know, I think that's you know, it's just a human thing.
Yeah, I always felt like growing up as like a white kid in America.
What if you wait? What if you were and identified as being Mexican, and they came to you and they didn't tell you that's the reason that they gave you all the bad committee assignments?
That would be unfair.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I'm just saying
that's the whole point, isn't it?
And
so you may find it funny because you pass as a white Anglo Christian.
Do you think I pass?
What?
You think I pass as a white Anglo Christian?
Well, I not only think you pass, I think you identify as it. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. No, but really, for real. And my point is that I heard you do an interview. Okay, when I literally on the right up here, it's like you were talking about how you were raised on like Mark Levin in high school,
right?
And the thing that you liked the most about Mark Levin,
oh god,
was to the callers. I don't get that. Like the joke about the cookies. It may be a joke and it may be edge lording and you may not really mean it, but you got to realize the cruelty to it. And without going like, oh, like, you know, wham, like, you know, people got to stop crying about the past. And that's the thing, is that I think that you have such an opportunity to talk to a generation of disaffected, angry, legitimately angry people in a way in which is positive without having to do that shit. And by the way, and I'm not holding you responsible for, like, you know, the end of you know, my conception of Western civilization, which is different than yours, but I just don't get it. I don't get why you find the cruelty. And I think that, by the way, I think that that's why you like Trump. I mean, I'm making, you know, like a very unfair leap, because his first instinct is cruelty. His first instinct is to find
yes, that's what they were all into. He's so edgy. He says what he just says it. He's not afraid to say it. Blah blah blah.
It's not his fault that we're in a war with Iran that he's ended 38 times and, you know, and started 39. It's not his fault that inflation's high. It's not his fault that the wall didn't get built. It's not his fault that ISIS is killing people on the streets in these places. It's the cruelty of it. Maybe it's a generational thing. I got friends who are Jewish that are going to be really, really fucking pissed off that I'm sitting next to you. And what do I tell them? What do I tell them why it's okay for me to sit and have this conversation with you?
I guess I just have such a different opinion of that. You know, why should we have to explain ourselves to talk to anybody? And why is it that saying the wrong words or making a particular joke makes it so the Jewish person wouldn't want to watch my show? I have a lot of Jewish fans. I mean, some of my best friends are Jewish. I've had Jewish employees, and they recognize that
I've got Jewish friends.
I'm not necessarily nice all the time. Doesn't mean I'm hateful. Doesn't mean, I don't even think they see it as cruel. I think they see it as it's a little rough around the edges. And maybe that's the difference. Is I guess it's just attributing this weight to something that we can consider a joke and maybe doesn't have a cruel intention behind it. Like, you know, Mark Levin, you got to remember at the end of the day, it's an entertainment show. It's entertainment. People call in. He gets frustrated with them. It's part of what I do on my show. And it's not always nice, but it's funny. And I don't think it's mean-spirited necessarily. And I don't think it's that big of a deal. So, I mean, the thought that I would, like, for example, with you, people say, why do you talk to Hunter Biden? His father and his DOJ froze your money and put you on a no-fly list. I'd say, so what? I mean, it's just talking. I don't think talking's a big deal, you know?
Froze my money and put me on a no-fly list, too.
There you go.
So a different question that I have that kind of weaves everything together. How do you think, like, October 7th and the subsequent, like, pro-Palestine movement and the online worlds it created led to a growing audience on the right?
October 7th in particular? Well, I think it highlighted and brought to the forefront how captured the right wing is by Israel, which is very unique. I think the Democrats and the Republicans are pro-Israel, but the Republican Party has this inextricable institutional connection with the Israel lobby, with this Likud government in particular. And I think people just started to see the hypocrisies. The hypocrisy was brought to the forefront, which is America first, but not with Israel. No new wars, except for with Iran.
Under Trump, we will have no more wars, no more wars, no more wars. He said, if he will start a war, I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. Tonight, Iran's Navy is gone.
You know, we're going to be racist and all these things, but don't you dare be anti-Semitic. Don't even, you know, think about it.
I see good things about Hitler also. Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler.
So I think that on the right wing, it made it unignorable that there's this ideological institutional capture.
I just feel like a lot of straightforward, like, just anti-Semite influencers were taking advantage of the post-October 7th discourse to push broader ideas about Jewish people as a whole.
Come out and say it. Like, I think that Jews are causing a disproportionate.
Yes, they're riding the wave of like, hey, Israel shouldn't be doing this genocide into, well, they control everything and let's hop on this.
Amount of problems in the United States.
Well, I mean, I think it's hard to ignore some of those other conversations. I know that it's now become maybe in vogue to say that the Israel issue is very narrow. It's just Netanyahu. It's just the Likudniks. It's just the Israel lobby. But, what would you say about someone like Larry Ellison? I mean, somebody like that, I don't think fits neatly into this, let's say, problem of Netanyahu.
As far as installing Barry Weiss and whatnot.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Because this is somebody who's not Israeli. He's not even a religious Jew, but he's ethnically Jewish and has this deep affinity for the state of Israel.
I feel a deep emotional connection to the state of Israel and the Israeli people.
And is using and mobilizing his power and resources and connections to benefit Israel in the private sector. And so if you were to say, what's a law that we could pass to prevent that kind of influence, what would it look like? He's an American citizen. He can't buy a media company and hire Barry Weiss to run CBS News, and yet we recognize it's a big problem.
I just feel the conflation of anti-Zionism and Holocaust denial played into the hands of the Israeli propaganda apparatus, because then they can say, hey, look, these people that oppose what we're doing in Palestine also don't think the Holocaust happened. It's a big jump in the public perception.
It was almost to me as if that was your intent, to lose any legitimacy about any argument as it relates to Israel and the Likud government, is to say those edgelording things or whatever.
Jews are money changers, bullshit artists, psychopaths, charlatans, grifters, manipulators.
I don't know anybody that can hear you after you say that, including myself. It delegitimizes everything, because I don't think that you a little bit more compassion.
Let's try to stay. I don't want to do any character attacks on Nick.
I'm not attacking his character. I'm not attacking him. I promise you. I'm
as far as compassion, I more just mean straightforward. Do you feel like the rise in anti-Semitic online influencers post October 7th has given Israel more ammunition to work with in terms of casting everyone who opposes what they're doing as just like a rabid Jew hater?
In some cases, sure. But I also think that's overstated, because I think that, look, let's just be honest. I do believe the political left wants to make the Israel issue very narrow, and they want to say that the issue is this genocide in Palestine. And on some level, they think that the Israeli government is racist.
You f***ing baying pig. You f***ing bloodthirsty, violent pig dog.
And that's the problem. And I think that ignores that there is a broader conversation, and it does have to do with the Holocaust, and it does have to do with Jews as such, and Jewish nationalism and Jewish identity. So to try to shoehorn it in and say, well, if anybody goes further than this very narrow critique of Israel, well, they're actually helping Israel, I don't agree with that. I think we have to unpack the whole conversation.
Well, do you care a lot about Palestinians?
Not more than I care about anybody else.
So I guess that would be why they would be like, okay, you're just taking advantage of this discourse.
I don't think it's taking advantage. I think that we can sympathize with the Palestinians while also realizing that, look, I'm an American, and so it's a tragedy what's happening in Palestine, but there's tragedies happening all over the world. My problem is that Israel has this influence over our government.
I'm a newcomer to politics, but not to backing the Jewish state.
And we're paying for the genocide, and we're furnishing them with the weapons to commit the genocide. And by the way, America is going to be held liable for this genocide, morally, but also politically and diplomatically and otherwise. But I think that people on the left, they may be guilty of maybe caring more about Palestine than they do about America.
Nick, but the left didn't cancel you. The right canceled you first. The right canceled you first, and Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, and those were the people canceled. They may have utilized the tools of the left, or what you call the left, to be able to do that, but it was the right that canceled you. And by the way, I would consider a radical right. The Daily Wire, to me, is a radical right.
I don't think they're even reactionary. I don't think they're that conservative at all. Ben Shapiro, I mean, he's not like he's in favor of mass migration.
In 2016, they were alt-right.
No, they were not.
Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, they were to the right of Mitt Romney.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's what I mean. And that's
more conservatives.
Yeah. My point was, that's who you were canceled by.
I was also canceled by the left.
No, I know. They came along. They came along because some of the more egregious things that you said is edgelording. They came along. And whether you call it canceling or saying, like, what the fuck? This is what I call it. What the fuck? like, what the fuck? And so, like, I don't find it funny. And just like you're able to say, well, I just think it's funny, I'm able to say, I don't find it fucking funny. I didn't find it funny then. I don't find it funny now. I didn't find it funny that some of the things that, you said about me. But I'm willing to sit here and listen to you, because I want to get to this. And this is my whole point. What about fucking Donald Trump?
Yeah, we can get to that.
How, of all the people in the world, but you could look at and say he doesn't believe anything.
So for context for the viewer, Donald Trump is currently the sitting president of the U.S. For our audience abroad. The war with Iran was supposed to be over. Now we're back in business, baby. Khomeini had a pretty sick funeral if you saw the video. So you guys don't like Trump. You used to like him.
I did.
You boys hated him. He's trying to destroy your life.
Yeah.
You guys were cool. You guys hung out once at Mar-a-Lago with Kanye. You've never hung out with Trump, right? Would you want to?
No. Do I want to? Yeah.
Okay.
Look, man, I would. Like, can we get him? Can we get him in the hotel?
So I want you to imagine he's in the motel with us.
Yeah.
That's Trump. What do you want to? How about what do you want to ask him?
Oh, put me on the spot. I don't want to ask Donald Trump anything, because I know, and I think you would agree with me, is that Donald Trump isn't going to give me an authentic answer. Donald Trump never gives an authentic answer. He gives what people refer to as being authentic, but it's not authentic. It's audacious. It's like the example that I give that is the best metaphor for this is that he says he's 6'3", weighs 225 pounds, and everybody laughs because that's a little bit like edgelording, right? Everybody knows.
The same height and weight as Chris Hemsworth in Thor.
That he is maybe 6 feet and weighs maybe 300. 285?
He's a big guy. He's a pretty big guy.
Yeah, big guy. But by virtue of every picture ever taken of anyone that's 6'3", he's not 6'3".
I am.
Okay? Yeah, I know you are.
Thank you.
You're 6'2.5". Maybe. That's fine. Maybe. But my point is that the reason I don't have a question for him is because I'm absolutely certain that he's not going to give me an authentic answer. Look, he came into the Oval Office in the transition this time, and he told my dad that he thought that he did an amazing job. He did an amazing job with the economy. He did an amazing job with NATO. He did an amazing job, and that he got a raw deal from his side. And anything he could do, particularly for Hunter got screwed. Whatever I can do, you let me know. Bullshit. He then went out, and he has now since then done nothing but blame Joe Biden for every single one of his.
Yeah.
11 months ago, I inherited a mess. Joe Biden handed us over a country that was in very serious trouble. Biden gave us a horrible economy. And I really mean this. I think the good parts are the Trump economy, and the bad parts are the Biden economy.
He mentioned my dad's name or my family's name 6 times a day in the first 100 days of this administration. 6 times a day. He does it maybe 4 times a day now because he has no answers. All he has is a finger to point, and that's all he does. My point is, I don't know what to ask him. Why are you such a dick?
What does your dad think about the war?
What?
I don't think he'll be able to hold. I think his best hope is to do this influencer thing. I don't think he'll be able to hold a high political office. I mean, there's too many hit pieces that'll come out, and he just won't be able to hold it.
But I'm not going to get into what my dad thinks about the war. Is it not really? Because I don't want to get into. I don't put words in my dad's mouth. Just like I wouldn't ask you what your dad thinks about the war. But that wasn't president of the United States, which is a little bit different. But look, all I can say is this: is that every single Israeli prime minister since at least Jimmy Carter was president, has walked into the Oval Office or picked up the phone and called the president and said, we have to attack Iran. And every single one of them has said no. And they may not all have had the same exact reason, but one of the reasons they did is because they knew what the consequences would be as it relates to the lifeblood of the economy. It's petroleum in the Straits of Hormuz. Every single one of them knew that. And every single one of them knew that there is no way, unless you send in ground forces, to end with certainty the nuclear program that the Iranians have supposedly been building. Every single one of them knew that the existing Ayatollah, the Ayatollah at that time, had put out a fatwa, an edict saying that they would never turn their nuclear technology into a bomb.
The supreme leader of Iran issued fatwa. Having nuclear weapons is forbidden, it's haram, which means never we can have nuclear weapons.
It was a religious edict as strong as if the Pope had released an encyclical. But what did he do? He kills the Ayatollah. We get a son that now has a far more radical and far greater ties to the IRGC. And what do we have? The Straits of Hormuz are still closed. He said that they're brilliant people. I find that that's Donald Trump on everything. He said he'd end the war in Ukraine on day one.
That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president.
And I didn't hear anybody on the right and say, that's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. He said he would build a wall. I don't believe in building a wall. But everybody said that's bullshit. And then when he got into office, the corruption, the level of the corruption, I mean, people believed, or led to believe, that there was this thing called the Biden crime family, right? I know that you know, is that I didn't do a single piece of business when my dad was president. I made basically $200,000 a year selling paintings. I picked the thing that was the furthest possible thing away from politics that I possibly could. Don and Eric have done over $1.3 billion in contracts, just in contracts for underlying companies that they have an ownership stake in with the Department of Defense. Don Jr. got the largest loan ever given by the Department of Defense of a company that he bought into like 3 months before they got the loan. Because Peter Navarro picked up the phone and called DOD to get it done. My point is, I don't have anything productive to say to him that I know of. And when I listen to you, and I listen to what you do, my question is how did you not see that before? He was a disaster in 2020. A complete and utter disaster as it related to what he did with COVID. Right, regardless of whether you think we're supposed to be wearing a mask or not.
The question for Nick is, how did you not realize 6 years ago that Trump would be this sort of letdown?
Because he doesn't hold, you know, there's no ideological core to Donald Trump.
No, I agree with you. Well, you got to realize in 2016 where Republicans were at. We had John McCain, we had Mitt Romney, and the perception on the right is that they were insufficiently conservative and that they were losers. All they do is lose because they don't fight. There was this perception that the Democrats are ruthless, fires, Obama crushed in 2008, crushed. When we thought he really should have lost in 2012, that was a Republican perception that Romney let us down. And so when Trump came on the scene in 2016, it was new, it was refreshing. He seemed like somebody that was really going to take on not just the Democrats, but also the media on our behalf. And what's more, you got to think about the mood of the moment in 16 as well, and the message Trump was giving. Trump said in 16, it's just me and my son and my wife. We don't have any donors. We don't have any special interests.
More than $100 million put in of my money, meaning I'm not taking all of this big money from all of these different corporations like she's doing.
We're going to put America first, make the country great again. This is a very appealing message, and I talk all the time on my show about it.
Yeah, that was all
It's obviously a scam, and now obviously unfulfilled.
Yeah.
And you're right, Trump is non-ideological. The message was brilliant because it said, one, the system is broken. America's not great anymore, but it used to be. We can make it great again. In order to do it, we need to actually bypass the system. Why is it that we never have victories? Why is it that things don't change? Because of money. He said, and that's why I'm different. I'm rich. I'm a billionaire. If I self-fund my campaign and don't take super PAC money, then I won't have to listen to the lobbyists and the special interests. I could fire the people I need to fire, do the things I need to do. That was like a very powerful message in 2016. And after 4 years, I was one of the people even back then that said, look, it never materialized. He did wind up taking super PAC money. He took APAC money for that matter. Sheldon Adelson money at that time in 16. Even in the first term, bombed Iran. In the first term, didn't build the wall. In the first term, didn't even reduce illegal immigration until 2019. And I remember the timeline perfectly because I covered it every day. It was like in May and June 2019, 20-year illegal immigration high in terms of month over month. But why did I go for him in 2020? At the height of the pandemic, we all thought on the right that if anyone other than Trump was president, you were going to get a vaccine mandate, which we really didn't want to be forced to take the vaccine. We thought the lockdown might never end. We thought that censorship would kick into overdrive. And so we said, really, it's unacceptable that anyone other than Trump would just be a disaster. And then obviously Biden came in, and I don't think it was as bad as we thought it would be, to tell you the truth, honestly. But by 2024, I mean, I was out. In 2024.
Well, that's what they do. They sell this fear of like, they're going to start rounding you up and they're going to take your guns. You guys are record gun sales just because Obama was elected. He never even ran on any fucking crazy gun bans. You couldn't even buy ammo when he was president.
Or because everything you're saying is totally true. And I was telling people on my side, I was saying he's not going to build the wall. And I know you're against that. He's not going to do the mass deportations, promising that. He's not going to start no new wars. I said in 24, he's going to take us to war in Iran. And the Ukraine war, I said, that's not going to end in one day. Too complicated. We're already in it. And so I didn't vote. I didn't vote in 2024. And I told my followers not to vote for Trump for that reason. And it was only until a year later, after all the exuberance died down and people saw the burying of the Epstein files, the war in Iran, people said, you know what? You were right. You were right about Trump. Even Alex Jones told me you were right about Trump. I was all in on him. So, I mean, as far as him being vaporware is concerned and a scammer and fundamentally you're 100% right, no ideological core. He's not an ideological guy. Yeah, it is.
He's literally all about him.
And I agree. He's a cruel narcissist. Yeah. And you said I like the cruelty. I do not like the cruelty.
No, by the way, no. I didn't say you like the cruelty. I said I listened to your thing, and you said one of the things that you liked about Levin was the cruelty. And not for the cruelty's sake, it didn't seem to me like this. It was because it was raw. It was, yeah. And that's, so I'm not saying that.
No, but I agree. I think he is cruel. And even what he said on Easter. I mean, we're Catholic. On Easter Sunday, he says we're going to annihilate Iran. And then he made fun of Allah on Easter Sunday. So, you know, that kind of stuff, it just totally turned me off entirely.
Is there anything that you think Trump can do to, like, regain the support of the, I guess, Gen Z and millennial right?
No, it's over. People see what he's made of. And Hunter's right. He's a liar. He is a liar. He is a bullshit artist. And especially, you look at what he did with the Epstein files, with the war in Iran, what he did to Thomas Massie.
This guy named Thomas Massie. There's something wrong with him. They just vote no. They love voting no. They think it's good politically.
You realize that if you are America first, you have no place in this Republican Party. Because he said it. He said our Republican Party, or rather, he said MAGA is Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, Randy Fine. He said, and who is not MAGA? Megyn Kelly, Tucker, Alex Jones, Candace. And I think most Republicans said, well, we're with those other people. We're not MAGA anymore. So
what do you think happens, Nick? I believe that we need radical change. And I'm not talking about violence or revolution or things like that. I'm talking about the only ways that you can have this kind of radical rethinking of the system. Like, there's so many like, what do you think about the Epstein?
Vaporware is like something that's got all this hype behind it, but never kind of comes to fruition, right? It's either canceled or extremely delayed, or it was just all hop to begin with.
Files. What do you think about the accountability? Or do you think that he's broken the system to the degree that we now are basically in a dictatorship light?
No, I actually have a lot of confidence only because
it's a tech term, but they use it for like Trump is vaporware. Right? He had all this hype. He was going to do all these great things. He made all these promises, and it just never happened.
I think the Democrats are going to take the House in 26, which I support. I'm telling my people, vote Democrat. We want the Democrats in the House because what they're going to do is they're going to use the oversight powers to bring all the corruption to light. Because I know Republicans will watch this, and when you say, we didn't commit crime, they're going to be skeptical. However, for the sake of argument, let's say the income you made during Biden was ill-gotten. For the sake of example, it's just doesn't hold a candle. It doesn't even come close, doesn't even touch Jared Kushner, Howard Lutnick, Steve Witkoff, Don Jr., Trump himself. It's just a different sport. It's a different game entirely. And I want all that corruption to be reviewed.
A different level.
They're going to do it. I hope they get impeached. I don't think they'll be removed from office, but I think it'll basically drag this administration to a halt. And then 28, I think there's an opportunity for a clean reset with both sides, right and left.
Hey guys, quick thing before we get back to Hunter and Nick. So these two guys individually have been hammered on all sides by the American media for
I hope it drags down JD Vance so much that he can't get above water. He's just fucking drowning in all this fucking corruption that's going to be exposed when the Democrats take back Congress.
years. And if you want to understand why the coverage looks the way it does historically, you got to ask an important
after midterms.
Who owns the outlets doing the hammering? Who's doing the hammering? Who funds them? Who's on the board of directors? Once you trace the money, the whole two-party culture war thing starts looking a lot less like a real fight and a lot more like a business model, and a very effective one. And Ground News is how I see right through it. So Ground News is the dopest news aggregate out there, app and website as well.
I think Vance is an opportunist and hitched himself to Trump, even though he hates Trump. He called Trump America's Hitler, right? Because he thought it would propel him to the top of this new right-wing movement that had young enthusiasm. But Trump has driven that off a fucking cliff. And I hope it saddles him and weighs him down the rest of the time. He's because he is this fucking chameleon that'll latch onto anybody to get power. He's fucked up now, right? This will weigh him down forever. He'll always be tied to all this corruption and bullshit that Trump did that people aren't buying anymore.
Beyond the ownership piece, every outlet gets a
and most people aren't buying anymore.
Rating and a factuality score. And there's a blind spot feature that catches stories that one side is hammering while the other side is completely ignoring, which happens more than you believe. Here's a perfect example. So my man, Big Hunter Biden, Big HB, just won a $1.7 million defamation suit against ex-Overstock CEO Patrick Byrne, who lied and claimed that Hunter took an $800 million bribe from the Iranians. Pull it up in Ground News. So the WLT report on the far right, the sister site of WeLoveTrump.com, spent 4 years shitting on my boy Hunter. But today, the headline reads, Hunter scores stunning $1.7 million court victory. Wow, stunning. Now on the left, Raw Story says, Hunter gets last laugh after judge orders MAGA millionaire to fork over nearly $2 million. So on this story, as you can see, left, right, everyone converges. That's the ownership beat right there. WLT report is a Trump loyal outlet, and even they had to run the win straight. That's the ownership beat right there. And when you can actually see the ownership inside of Ground News, you can really trust exactly what you're reading. Look, I don't do much news commentary. I do documentaries. But before I sit down with two guys who've been extensively attacked by the press for years, I got to know where the coverage of them is actually coming from before I ask my questions. And Ground News is exactly how I do it. If you want to be just like me and join the GNC5 family, go to ground.news/channel5 or scan the QR code on screen. You'll get 40% off the Vantage plan, the illest plan on the dopest app in human history. Break out of the algorithm. Ground News. All right, back to Hunter and Nick. Whenever you talk about Trump, sometimes you explain this like nightmare scenario that revolves around the Vance presidency.
Yes.
What about JD Vance being in power scares you so much?
If Trump doesn't have an ideological core, then Vance really doesn't, because Vance is a chameleon. That's not his real name, for openers. Never had a real job. These are all sinecures given to him by Peter Thiel. 6 years ago, he's a never-Trumper.
I'm a never-Trump guy. I never liked him.
I think that he's leading people in a very dark direction, and that's ultimately what worries me the most.
Terrible candidate. Idiot if you voted for him. Might be America's Hitler.
I was wrong about Donald Trump. I didn't think he was going to be a good president, Brett. He was a great president.
Now he's a national conservative, national populist, and so we don't even really know who he is. I mean, to me, this is basically a Manchurian candidate. This is a shell. And who is the power behind him? It's the oligarchs. It's the little tech oligarchs in bed with the CIA. You know, especially at this fever pitch with AI. I think that's really dangerous. So to me, him being president is just a worse scenario in my mind.
For the uninformed viewer, what is the Palantir-JD Vance connection?
Well, Palantir was founded by Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel's very close with David Sachs. JD Vance was given his first job in Silicon Valley by Thiel. Thiel hooked him up with it. You know, the CEO of that company said it was a personal favor to Thiel that I hired him. And then Thiel got him all his jobs at these various venture capital firms, including his own, and then funding JD Vance's venture capital firm. Peter Thiel gave $15 million to Vance when he ran for Senate in Ohio in 22. Peter Thiel secured President Trump's endorsement for him in 22, which basically got him the nomination and the seat. So, I mean, as far as anybody's concerned, Vance owes his entire political career to Peter Thiel, who derives his fortune from Palantir.
And now he's a Catholic like you and me.
Well, he's a convert, so, you know.
You're the convert.
Yeah.
So do you think that Trump's unfulfillment of his campaign promises was a result of him being like compromised by somebody connected to that structure, or do you think he always just never cared?
I don't know that he never cared. I just think that, you know, me, I'm an idealist. So I think about the ideas and the concepts. Trump is a businessman. And so I think with him, everything's transactional. And I said this in 2024. Trump knew the voters would swallow anything. The voters would not walk away from the table because they were enamored with him.
I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
He knew he could break every promise with them in order to fulfill promises for the donor class, which is little tech, the Israel lobby, and Wall Street, the bankers, Tim Mellon, the big asset managers. So I think with him, everything's business, everything's a transaction. And that's why you can't trust him. You have to do business. And in 24, I said we should all collectively say we're not going to vote unless he makes certain commitments. And not enough people did that. But I mean, that's fundamentally his flaw.
Your critique of this like elite power structure sounds like vaguely anti-capitalist.
It's not anti-capitalist. You know, capitalism says the capital, large amounts of capital will be held in private hands, which I believe in. I am a capitalist. But I think what is happening is that it's the way that money is used in government. There needs to be a distinct and separate national power that subordinates the money power to it. The problem is the billionaires buy all the elections, buy all the media, control public perception. And so really we're all subsidiary then to the market. So I support capitalism, but it just has to be underneath the nation, underneath the state.
It seems like you have a pretty optimistic perspective on the year 2028.
Well, he's going
going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president 28.
Kind of keep coming back to this like clean election year. Do you think that's going to be like a renaissance year for outsider candidates and outside media channels like this one?
It can be. I think it certainly can be because I think there's frustration on the right and on the left. You see even in the primaries on the Democrat side, it's all DSA, progressive types that are winning. You ironically have the same frustration on the left with their establishment as we have on the right. And so I think, in 2028, it's going to be a year where there'll be a competitive Republican primary and Democratic primary, and hopefully the people make their voice heard and we get some new options. Maybe that reflect the will of the people more.
Yeah. So what do you think about somebody like Mamdani?
Personally, I don't like him. I don't like some of the things that he said. Like, for example, on 4th of July, when he takes the opportunity to sit there with, let's be honest, not a single white person.
Is that not a white person right there? I would have never I would have never been like, I don't see a single one of my people up there.
In the room and says, the founding fathers would look down on us, the working people with their dirt street tans against the billionaires. I think it's a little too divisive. I like his energy. I like that he's young. It's ironic. Yeah, fair enough.
That's rich, buddy. But no,
but it seems pointed at me.
I know, but the thing.
So he was dissing you in that video?
Yeah,
like staring down the camera like, you son of a bitch.
People like me.
Yeah. But what I see is somebody is using government for exactly the purpose that you just said, is to break the oligopoly, to target the anger towards a tiny percentage of the population that has controlled the levers of government from the White House down to the mayor's office in New York City or Peoria, Illinois, to that matter, and even more so as you go further down that chain. And so I look at somebody like Mamdani, and regardless of his delivery, which may be off-putting, particularly for somebody coming from your side, is that he's delivering, man. You know what? I mean, he's really delivering. Like I saw somebody going after Mamdani for some of this stuff, and particularly about rent control. I was like, well, how do you think that the middle class was built after World War II and the GI Bill and rent-controlled buildings that created those communities that we were talking about an hour ago?
The GI Bill provides returning soldiers and veterans a range of benefits, including mortgages to purchase homes, loans to go to school, and this really was instrumental in creating the new American middle class.
Created the availability for somebody that was 26 years old that had a job with the MTA to be able to live and work in the city and put the kid in the school with the idea that they would be safe walking there and go to a park that, where the water fountains worked. That's what I see him trying to do. I mean, by the way, it's just so tired and, ridiculous. He's a communist, like it's about the communists. Like, who even says that anymore? Nobody, you know what? It was 1981 and, watching Rocky V and worried about the communists. You know what I mean? I just don't get it. My whole Philly legitimacy was just blown right there. But it's just kind of, so I look at somebody like Mamdani, I think, well, he's just talking about good government. Like, what do you think about healthcare? Don't you think that there should be a single-payer system? Don't you think that there should be some guarantee as a right? Because I don't know how you make it in this country and aspire to a middle-class life and be able to afford a catastrophic event as it relates to your health. I mean, it's over. You're done.
Yeah. I don't support single-payer, but I do believe that everybody should be entitled to some minimum level of coverage, catastrophic insurance. So, in principle, I agree.
Which is Medicare for all to a certain degree, right? I mean, because that's all that Medicare does right now. Well, why is that radical?
See, I don't think that's necessarily radical, but
to them, it's because we've been convinced that it's
to them. Yeah. Those others.
Yeah. No, them. I mean, the insurance companies.
Sure.
And their lobbyists who control 55% of the Congress, regardless of who's in power.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I don't think that's necessarily the most radical. I think, though, he is with the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. He backs all these DSA candidates. And let's be honest, a lot of them are radical. Like, I saw one of these candidates that just won in New York a couple weeks ago, the Chevalier candidate. There's a picture.
She hates my dad.
Yeah, I know.
She said about my dad.
She said awful things about him. Yeah, and she says, I didn't have a napkin to wipe my hands, so I used the American flag.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, I think it's crazy. But like the same way that, I thought a lot of the stuff that some people that got elected in 2016, 2020, even during the Tea Party, kind of movement was, egregious. Again, egregious.
If it's a legitimate rape, the female body has ways to try to shut that whole thing down.
So what do we do, Nick?
I think a better question.
If it's legit, that was when they were arguing about anti-abortion. If it's legitimate rape and she didn't enjoy it, the female body automatically shuts that down and there will be no pregnancy.
For real, what do we do? Can you at least come?
That's basically what he's saying. Like, if you don't enjoy it, if you didn't want it, then you're not going to get pregnant. But if you get pregnant from a rape, then obviously your body was wanting that.
A little bit to this way.
If you can come a little this way.
I can. Here's where I can come. Is this. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
About the Holocaust thing?
Oh, about that.
Yeah. I mean, really.
I do. And listen, here's what I'll say. Now that I'm older, I do think that's not the best approach. So I agree with you on that. And I see it as I get older, because let's be honest, saying those things when I'm a younger guy, when I'm 18, 20, it's like, you got to think that's just the age.
Jews are running society. Women need to shut the fuck up. Blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part.
And a lot of young people think that's funny and everything like that. I think that it also goes with the medium as well. Live streaming, social media, that's just what it rewards. So yeah, I think that people should try to move past some of that.
I'll try. But if you try.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
For real. And as it relates to when you talk about Israel, the Netanyahu, the Likud government, what's happening now, what's happened for the past 20 years in terms of whether the funding is Israel, what do you think it is? It's really important that you make a distinction between that and Jews. Because here's the thing, okay? Zoran Mamdani has a higher favorability rating in the United States among Jews than Bibi Netanyahu does. I think 65% of American Jews disagree with the approach that the Israeli government has right now. They don't disagree with you, but they completely turn on when they hear the conflation of Jews, Zionism, Israel. and think automatically anti-Semitism, whether it's fair or not, okay? But you have to understand it. And you have to understand it from a cultural perspective in which the recent history is only one data point in 2,000 years of history as it relates to what it means to be a Jew, of which is there is, what, 1%, 0.5% of the entire world's population? Because I don't know what it adds to your argument, or whether it adds to your argument about Miriam Adelson being able to give $300 million to Donald Trump and commit to giving another $300 million to get her way, and we end up in a war with Iran.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a valid point. I do think, though, that the issue is broader than just Netanyahu.
Oh, by the way, obviously, Netanyahu has a base within Israel, within the Jewish community here in the United States, with Jared Kushner. You know what I mean? Jared Kushner, who is unelected, not a member of our government, is having has more control over the direction of everyday lives of American people right now than anybody that I know of. And meanwhile, all he's doing is building a $6 billion private equity fund with the people he is negotiating for. And I always say, look who's paying him, and wondering whose interest that he is advancing. He's getting paid by the Saudis, he's getting paid by the Emiratis, he's getting paid by the Qataris, he's getting paid. Go down the list. And for some reason, he is in control, along with Steve Witkoff, who is also not elected by anybody, of deciding whether or not the Straits of Hormuz are going to open up and whether or not our gas prices are going to go down.
Fucking insane, dude.
Necessarily, an extra $1.60 or 85 cents. But you know what? 85% of the
some people say that Trump is just like a
they're going to be able to pay rent.
Figurehead of a grumpy old man who goes out and yells about shit and fucking get off my lawn and I hate brown people. And Jared Kushner and Ivanka are really running the actual policy decisions.
You know, whether or not you're going to be able to actually put the gas in your car in Montana to drive to your job on the, on the ranch.
Well, and here's what I'll say to you, and this is something kind of why I want to do this interview, is emphasize the message that as far as Jews are concerned in general, I think that it's the same standard that applies to everybody, which is as long as you're patriotic, as long as you believe Americans should be put first by their government, I have no problem at all. And I think that everybody in the country should be treated with dignity and respect and have their civil rights. It's just this acute problem of these people, like you mentioned, like Larry Ellison and Miriam Adelson and Jared Kushner, they're putting some other country before the interest of our own. And that in principle is what I have a problem with.
There's going to be some people who watch this and feel like, all right, no take backsies. And they might feel like you're just kind of trying to moderate, and that now that you've achieved your goal and got a lot of support, you're kind of moderating because your main aim has already been achieved, which is to sort of have a generational run and pop off. So now you're trying to kind of make your way more into the mainstream discourse, but you'll just go back again into the same sort of reactionary rhetoric once you're back in the number one spot.
Well, I don't even think I'm moderating. And I even told our mutual friend, it's not even a moderation. It's not even an apology. It's clarifying, because all along I've been saying this message. It's just that the way that I'm saying it changes and evolves. I also think how people respond to it changes as well. Because let's be honest, 10 years ago, there was a very different kind of conversation about Israel. You could not mention it in a negative or critical way without being utterly annihilated in politics. We all know that ever since October 7th, that's not the case anymore. So I think that there's sort of something reciprocal happening, which is that people are receiving me differently. And as someone that's growing older and more mature, I'm even representing myself differently. So I wouldn't even call it moderating, just clarifying. People are more receptive, and I'm maybe better able to articulate it.
And you think that's because you kind of gotten older and been able to have like a longer career in media to reflect on your different changes in your perhaps brain chemistry and lifestyle?
That's a huge thing. I mean, I know it's 27. I have a very different mentality than I did when I was 20.
What's the main difference here?
Just more even keeled. I think you know too. It's like when you're 20, you're just like a maniac, and then you hit 25, and you're like, all right,
I was a maniac when I was 49. my brain chemistry has really changed in the last 7 years too. And I do believe that people can grow and they can change. And I'm not asking you to, and I'm not asking you to say things, but there are certain things that I just hope that you can hear without feeling attacked. That some of the things that you said, whether it's edge-wording otherwise, are really hurtful, and then people completely turn off of the idea of being able to listen to you about anything, and then you get dug in more, and you're like, oh, go fuck yourself, like, you can't take a joke kind of thing. And that's not what it is. It's not just wokeism. It's not. It's people being really, really hurt by it. And I accept your apology for all the mean things you said about me.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on my apology tour. Is that the one thing you did say? You said I was a degenerate crackhead.
Me?
I have the problem with that, not you.
Me?
Yeah. And
I also said you were cool, though.
Yeah, no, by the way, you said a degenerate crackhead, and you know what? I'm not even mad about that, because I was a degenerate crackhead. I spent more time on my hands and knees smoking anything that even remotely resembled crack cocaine. It's true.
And now you're sober. Yeah, I find it interesting. You also said that you've never drank before.
Right. Yeah, I've never had a drink, never done drugs.
That's because you grew up, with me. You're like, don't be that guy.
I grew up with you too, and I was doing.
Yeah. You're not as smart as he is. My brother never drank. My dad too. And
I was going to ask you, Nick, what kind of prompted your choice to just like be sober for life and never drink?
Well, a big part of it is I had a lot of addiction in my family. My grandfather was an alcoholic, committed suicide. Uncle died from an overdose from crack cocaine. My mom, two of her uncles, heroin addicts for their entire lives, and it just devastated my family, devastated both of my parents. And so I know I have that addictive personality and probably have the genetics for it. And not only that, but I like being rational. I like having my sober mind. I think that's actually a sacred thing, to have unimpaired reason. So the thought of losing control and even being tempted to get into worse things, I just thought.
I don't know if I like this new camera angle where it's like weird and shaky for just a moment, like it's just like this pop-up camera, like they didn't plan it, so somebody's just holding a cell phone. It just keeps cutting to that third angle. I don't know if I like that or not.
Not worth the risk, so it's just never for me.
Well, how much? By the way, sorry, do we have time? Is it? How much do you think COVID warped not just your generation but everybody? Because I have this theory that there was this thing that broke for us with COVID, and that nobody's really come to terms with how traumatic that was for everyone,
and especially developing kids that were like in school and shit, like the forgotten generation kind of deal.
Generations. I think severely less for the older generations, but for the younger people, missing the graduations, missing critical years in school. That's when the socialization happens. That's when you learn to get along. And so you think about how the generation's going to grow up having 2 to 3 lost years. No sports, no school, no extracurriculars, vacations. It's devastating. We already had a problem with that: isolation, social dislocation, loneliness. I can't even imagine. So it's going to be devastating, I think. But that's a lockdown.
So maybe if you're watching this video after this, put your phone or computer away, go outside, make a friend, just do anything but scroll to the next video.
Touch grass.
Nickelodeon, they had go outside day.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we need like one day a week where it's mandated in a tech oligarch sense that no one can go on their phone or use the computer.
Man, I would love that. I mean, that's one thing. Is one thing we could all agree on.
Shut down the internet on certain days.
In your pocket, everybody is, and it's probably even more dangerous in some ways.
Would either of you guys ever run for office?
Are you asking me for real?
Yeah.
No. I think that politics, the way that my dad engaged in it, and I'm obviously incredibly biased, is an incredibly noble thing. But that's not where my head is in terms of what I want to do. I want to reach. My whole thing is that forget all of this. I want to reach 1 million people in addiction. I think one of the biggest things about addiction, one of the reasons why it continues to be this epidemic, is that we don't talk about it. Is that you don't even talk about it around a dinner table. And what you realize, if you're coming from my particular unique situation, is that everybody comes to me and they tell me their story. And sharing that is like breaks that cycle of shame. And so I want to reach 1 million people in addiction.
How about you, Nick? Would you ever run for office?
I don't think so, no. Just because I don't think you can fully be authentic when you're running for office because...
But Hank wants you in Congress.
It's a different role.
Texas is booming.
They say, according to the Overton window idea.
Ideas that are inside the Overton window are ideas that are politically safe. The public is ready to accept them.
They say that if you want to change people's opinions and what they consider acceptable, you kind of have to be the first to the punch and maybe considered a bad person or evil or whatever in order to promote your view. And so that just doesn't lend itself to that kind of politics. So I think to protect my own integrity and authenticity of the message, I have to not run for office.
See what we just did? We just made probably the entire audience happy. One half is glad I'm not running. The other half is really glad he's not running.
If not you guys, then is there any candidate or prospective candidate that you feel like could run in 2028 that would, have a fair shot that y'all support?
Nobody in particular for me. Honestly, I haven't really been too impressed with who's come out of the Republican Party. So I'm hoping they'll just be somebody we haven't heard of, somebody maybe that hasn't been in office before.
He's voting for Gavin Newsom.
That's right, yeah. Well, if it's Newsom advance, I'd certainly think about it.
Yeah.
How about you? Anybody that, creates a twinkle in your eye?
No, I think that there are a lot of people. I mean, I know that you think that you're going to laugh at me, but I personally like Gavin Newsom a lot. I think that he's authentic in those beliefs, whether you agree with them or not. Thomas Massey's principal stand as it relates to the Epstein files was incredibly courageous.
Do not let the Senate muck this bill up. I am sorry if one of your billionaire donors is going to get embarrassed because he went to Rape Island.
And that's why he's not going to be congressman anymore. But that's why, he could...
Went to Rape Island.
And you guys think America will exist in a post-Epstein capture freeway?
Will America exist?
Yeah, will America survive the current power structure's stranglehold on the media, the political system, and all public affairs?
I don't know. I think AI is going to really be transformative. It's interesting. Nobody seems to be talking about that.
Bad.
Sense, like for bad?
Concentration of power. That's the single biggest. And you know what? I'm actually on the liberal side on this with Anthropic over the, let's say, because there's this battle between these effective altruists, effective accelerationists, and I really am nervous about what's going to happen, especially in the next 4 years, because they're racing towards this artificial general intelligence, artificial superintelligence, and that, without a doubt, is going to be the single biggest influence on the country. And so I'm really worried about that.
And what about that concerns you? Is it surveillance?
It's the concentration of power in the hands of whoever controls it. Whichever firm is the one to develop ASI, that could confer dictatorial-like powers upon the CEO of that company. So whether that's Sam Altman or it's Dario, if the artificial intelligence is aligned with its creator, that person will become the most powerful person in the history of mankind.
It's almost an inherent truth, in my opinion, what you just said, is that the greatest leap in human evolution is going to happen within our lifetimes. AGI, let alone, superintelligence, is everything that we think about, the way in which we exist in the world completely changes. And I don't think that that's in any way hyperbole. And if you listen to the people that are developing these technologies right now, they are the most alarmist.
I think AI will probably, most likely, sort of lead to the end of the world.
If you want to know what life's like when you're not the apex intelligence, ask a chicken.
And now, by the way, I think that there's an enormous possibility for incredibly beneficial things to society, like being able to cure cancer. I just think of this one thing. Everything that AI is built on is ours. It belongs to you, and you, and you, all the way back through the human civilization. That's what they're stealing from us, and they're putting it into the hands of literally a handful of people. All of that human knowledge and the value that comes from it. And I think that that's ours. So any AI that is developed, particularly that goes to AGE, it should be communal. It should be shared. In the not just the beneficial offshoots of it, but the actual money of it should be shared.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it's like nuclear bombs, but it's also a commodity at the same time. The weapons potential, the economic potential, I think that's going to be the biggest thing. And I hope on some level the liberals win that argument because, what Trump is doing with the Pentagon, Anthropic, and OpenAI, the way they're handling it is so reckless and sloppy and just honestly unbelievable. So we need some adults in the room on that one.
Well, it's been a great conversation. I appreciate you guys for coming.
In the room, for sure, is the way to phrase that.
I still believe in America, and I truly believe in these conversations. And I think everyone that's watching would think that I would not want to sit down with Nick. And this, I guess, what I'm getting at with you is that I hope you see the humanity in me, and so in the way that you talk in the future, takes that into consideration. And what I'll do is I will see the humanity in you.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a great conversation, and I think that we have to come together on the things that we agree on, which is, for example, that we love the country, we both believe in America, we both want the country to succeed, and I like what you said, that we see the fundamental humanity in each other. And I think that especially in the events of the last year, the killing of Charlie Kirk, you realize that's actually not something that people on both sides share. I think there's people on the right and the left that don't see the humanity in the other side, and so maybe that's the new consensus, or that's where we can come together, is on the basis that we disagree on fundamental issues, and even sometimes it gets heated and we yell at each other, but that we do ultimately want the best for each other. We love each other. We want the country to succeed, and I think that's a starting point for any solution and any conversation.
All right, American brothers.
I think that's the craziest thing is I understand that these crazy MAGA people think that they love America, they're saving America, they're doing right by America. But when you go to talk to them or see them post or whatever, they're like, the left's destroying America because they hate everything about it, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. It's just crazy. I think they think that. I think they're wrong about it. They're trying to save this American culture and preserve this and keep it wide. I think they're going the wrong way about it. But I genuinely believe that they think that they're saving America, in quotation marks. but they think that everybody on the left is destroying America. They hate America. They hate freedom. They hate the flag. They hate everything. They hate apple pie. Like, I don't know. That's crazy to me.
Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thanks, man. After interviewing Hunter and Nick about a variety of contentious topics, not limited to, but including the Iran war and ongoing conflict,
pretty good.
I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe I should just go.
Pretty good interview.
Apply for a visa from the IRGC and fly to Tehran to go to a Death to America rally, after which I'll scour the scene to find the underground culture of the city and figure out how unveiled Tehran street folks actually feel about the government, and eat some great food and see some sights while I'm at it. So I did just that with the help of the OG Vice News Group. If you guys want to see our extensive coverage captured in Iran, go to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/channel5. If I had it my way, everything would be free. But hiring fixers, renting equipment, traveling across the world and fighting lawsuits against powerful people.
I hope that Andrew Callahan doesn't become a Tim Pool. Because Tim started out like this, covering this underground, these mini documentaries, the original Vice News people.
Very, very expensive and time-consuming, so we need your support. Channel 5, as mentioned, is a totally independent crowdfunded newsroom. We can only make money 3 ways: merchandise, limited ad reads, and of course, Patreon. We're a sizable army of real ones. Pay $5 a month to get access to an entire catalog of uncensored, early exclusive, and crazy-ass content. So if you want to support us and see more, again, it's www.patreon.com/channel5.
See the titties.
In the pinned comment in the description box.
If you subscribe.
Worldwide, hungry blind. Fuck the authority. Channel 5 News. Channel 55. We don't fuck with customers. And 5 is the best number.
There you go, guys. That was the interview. Wasn't bad. Yeah, pretty decent interview. That's probably it for me. What is it, 1:15? Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Consider supporting the show. I know we just really covered somebody else's interview today, but I did really want to watch it. Multiple people had mentioned it in the chat yesterday. I'm excited. I was excited to watch it. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. Support the show if you can. I would greatly appreciate it. That's how I pay the bills around here, and rent will soon be due. Thank you guys again for listening to me bitch for a while. I'll see everybody in the next one. Have a good night. We are moving the schedule up, so expect me before 11, and hopefully we get that before 10 starting time. I appreciate you guys. Thank you all, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a good night. Love you. See you. Bye. Go watch Hail Mary and cry, I guess.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show.
I'll be waited with bated breath, Stephanie.
People on this.
I want to know. Keep a dream journal. I'll start broadcasting it.
Exactly who they are and telling the rest of the world.
Keep it by your bed so you don't forget.
You don't have balls.
We'll animate the videos.
Here we go, I think I started some shit.
Lucid dreaming.
It's the month, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set.
Thanks, Josh, Billy, Steph, legend. Fort.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle.
I love how Bort keeps giving advice about, I'm an entertainer, you're a homeless guy. If you were this great entertainer, wouldn't you at least have a place to fucking lay down and sleep every night?
False fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like four in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'm gonna make your...
Find a guy under a bridge and take investment advice from him. Oh, gotcha.
Baby,
well, I've always been good at predicting the future.
What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking flip.
What happened to the guy who was supposed to start teaching them day trading or whatever?
Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers.
Also, did you guys see Phil posted that he wanted tickets to an event at Mar-a-Lago? Not general admission, but like VIP tickets or whatever. And then people are calling him out like, why don't you just call Trump, dude? Why don't you just ask him? What are you talking about? Well, you want to buy tickets from somebody else? Weird.
We ain't seen none yet. I used to find clues too when I was high.
Then he deleted the post. It wasn't even up for a full hour.
Bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped them to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, this is gonna be it. Whoa, wait. Stop. What? I'll get my files. Wait, what are you doing? Stop. Hold on. Fucking stop. Dude, come on. Seriously. This mom's an alcoholic. Give me oh my God. Damn it. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Round 3. Down goes Nino. Please say it isn't so. Got him backed up on the ropes, trying to ram it down his throat. Now things are getting rocking. He was doing so well. It's all over. Hands on his shoulders. They ringing his bell. You got Frog News Network doing no damn research. They be working copy on cocks that came first. Ninth inning, second string, and they acting like they know hitters. Assholes throwing bullshit, sending runs to the shitter. All this nonsense on my conscience. It's hard to sleep at night. Who the fuck is in my window with this time of the night? These parasites, these leeches, with all their secret meetings, teaching all you fucking cretins about baby-eating heathens. Believing in reason with no meaning is bullshit. Will Bird motherfuckers out here busting the grifts. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets, you know that.
Enjoy the night. Weekend's over. I guess going back to work tomorrow.
You don't have those.
Have a good night, guys.
You're a pussy. You're a pussy.
Bye.
Where an aviator